listening to Major Dreams podcast, and I was like, I asked Ian, who's that guy? That's so sad, but I love what he's actually sharing. I like his podcast, and then he said, we're gonna have a call with him, and then when we had a call with him, um, I I felt I didn't expect what actually Ian would do for Major Dream, and that was so touching. And I didn't know Major Dream that time. Ian didn't even tell me who he was before, what kind of a friend. He never mentioned about that. It just happened that I heard his podcast, his story, and it touched my heart. But what Ian did for Major Dream is that even through online, he like prophesied and speak the word of God and give him encouragement. And of course, it showed me the friendship, how deep their friendship is, and how really deeply connected to each other. So yeah, and I'm as a wife, of course, meeting this kind of people, it helps me to know more about my husband, who he is. He does not have to tell me, this is me, this is who I am. Through his friends, through the friends that he had here in the Philippines and even in America, you can tell what kind of a person he is.
So I thought that would be a relevant thing to kind of show you, because, so often when you're at an event like On-Chain Summit here in San Francisco, which happens for the next 5 days, right? Yeah. This might be a small, intimate event, but it's an event where people are here for almost an entire week building apps together. Base, what they're trying to say is you could spend 30% of all your revenue and give it to Google. You give 30% of all your revenue and you could give it over to Apple, or you could have your app on the Base app site, the Coinbase, what is their expression, and then you get all the revenue. So that's a huge draw. And also, this is technology built for the people, by the people. It's decentralized technology. Yeah. But without friendship, decentralization becomes a lot more challenging, right? You have to have a certain level of trust when you do decentralization. I've taken both of you to a lot of events. Just recently, we were in NFT NYC with the same team. We went to the Philippines with the same team, and we always have amazing media people just behind us. We have Christopher and company, Mr. Chandler and the team making things happen, and part of a broader media team to capture these stories, to be able to tell the world who can't be here with us what's going on, what's happening at the hackathon, what's happening on the main stage, what's happening here in the media room, and the one-on-one interviews that we're doing, all the stuff that we're setting up for our teams here. So what is the vibe here, Riza and Malachi, when it comes to when you think about doing an event here in San Francisco, and this is like small and intimate compared to the massive event in the Philippines or the mid-size event that it has become NFT NYC. How do you feel about the environment here that we're in today?
It's been absolutely fantastic. I think always getting to spend time around anyone who is in that Crisis King team is good time. It's always well spent. Like, that is also something that I really truly mean when I say that, which is such a great thing, because they're such fun and vibrant and joyous people. And then just now, with the 2 editors we had here, he was giving me a master class on different editing techniques and showing me all this amazing technical stuff that he was working on. And my mind was just blown. In like 5 minutes, I learned more than I learned in most days. And it's this kind of environment where innovation sparks, because you have the people there who are the ones that will spark innovation. I think innovation comes from necessity, and it also definitely comes from amazing people ready to do amazing things.
Riza's amazing. She's ready to jump downstairs and go get the food delivery for our team. We got like 15 people here. Everyone's food. That's always a guarantee. It's lunchtime.
Isn't food a great thing?
Food's a great thing.
I love
food
getting
is a great
food.
thing. While Riza jumps down, I'm going to share something else with you guys. I think when it comes to, we look back at the past, we look at the news of the day, we look at the future, what could be for Web3, AI automation, robotics, all things tech, innovation, what can be for business and finance, one thing that we want to maintain is a sense of fun, right? In all that we do with business. If what you're doing is not fun, if you're not enjoying it, then you may not have the follow through. Also, courage, to have courage, not to be afraid, to try new things, to do new things. So I landed in Puerto Rico. One of my trips, I've gone a dozen times in 2021, and I was at a bonfire. It's like 11:30 at night. And a new friend came up and said, "Hey, do you want to go skydiving tomorrow?" I said, "Sure." And so I'm going to share this video because I think it's important that we recognize when we're talking about using all these amazing technologies for the good of our businesses, for the good of our finance, for our clients, our vendors, our employees, our employer, that we remember that we need to try to find the fun in things. We need to try to chase the courageous, bold thing. And so I don't know if I recommend skydiving. I guess it's somewhat dangerous, but I thought it was a fun thing to just kind of transition into this part of the conversation.
Almost our turn to skydive. You guys are going.
so rarely does anybody actually talk about the philosophy of why we decentralize. Usually it's about how you make money, or it's about how you build a community, or it's about how you stay relevant. But very rarely is it, what is the practical and thoughtful reason on why we decentralize, and what is the spiritual and emotional reason on why we decentralize? I'm going to be bold enough to say that for the next 10 minutes, I'm on holy ground. I'm taking off my shoes, and I'm doing something I've never done. And I'm going to start my talk on my knees, just declaring to the Creator of all things, may I be wise and effective with what I'm about to share. Today I was interviewing Donald Lim, and he said something very nice to me. He said, "Ian, you're a prophet." You know, in technology, we call prophetic people futurists. And, you know, spiritual communities have always called people with intuition prophets. Now, I'm not a foreigner from America. I'm not an American prophet to come shine the light for all of those in Southeast Asia to know something that America knows. If anything, I'm a prophet of a different kingdom. I'm a prophet that ideally would come to tell you what the Creator might have in His heart for you and your people. Why your country will benefit so greatly from the philosophy of decentralization and the theology of decentralization. And to keep things engaging, I will go back and forth on my board talking about the practical thoughts and the supernatural spiritual beliefs on why decentralization makes a lot of sense. And so let me begin. Let me begin with a story. All of you know about comic books, right? You know the story of Superman? His planet's about to erupt. His parents put him in a capsule. They send him off, and then he lands on Earth. And then he becomes the superhero, right? Well, that story was based off of someone. I wasn't there. I don't know if it's a real story, but it's said in the sacred scriptures about a man named Moses. And Moses, all the baby boys are being killed. And so Moses' parents put him in a little boat and put him in the river, and the Pharaoh's daughter found Moses and made Moses his own son. Now, when Moses took all of the Israelites out of Egypt, what happened was he was in total control, and Moses had centralized power. Whatever Moses said God wanted, that's what happened. Whatever Moses said was supposed to happen, that's what happened. And so Moses had complete, total dictatorship, tyrant control over everything that happens in all of the Israelites' life in the desert. And what happened? Moses' father-in-law came to him and said, "Son, this is not good. It is not good for you alone to have all this power and control. You should pick 10, and those 10 should pick 10. And each of those 100 should pick 10. And each of those 1,000 should pick 10. And you, my son, should decentralize power." That's the theology. You see, the theology is, it is not good for an individual person or business to have all that power. And it seems as though, starting with Moses, who in many ways is the father of both the Christian, Catholic, and Jewish faiths, as well as has a lot of impact on the Islamic faiths, that person with all that centralized power, that the theology was, it is not good. How about practically? Was it good for Moses to have all that power? Was that a wise thing for one man to be in control of all those people out in the desert? I would say practically, that's not a good thing. That it was way too much for one man to bear. That regardless of his spiritual belief, even if Moses was an atheist, It doesn't matter. It's not good for one man to carry the burden of all those decisions. One man should not have every single person coming to him with all of their ideas and their thoughts and their input and their feedback. And so practically, philosophically, it made a lot of sense for Moses to decentralize power. Let me tell you another story. There was a man, I wasn't there, I don't know exactly what happened, but supposedly 2,000 years ago, there was a man named Jesus from Nazareth. And that man, all of his people that followed him around, they thought he was going to take down Rome and he was going to make the Jewish people and the Jewish synagogue powerful. And so they're like, here's our king. He's coming to build the Israelite, Hebrew, Jewish kingdom. But that's not what he did. So what did Jesus decide to do? Jesus decided that he would destroy everything that the Jewish people stood for in the synagogue, that he would fight against everything the Romans were doing with the government, and that he would also assault everything that was happening in the business world. You think they killed Jesus for fun? You think they nailed him to a cross and murdered him because they just had nothing better to do? No, they killed him because he was assaulting every single belief that was in place 2,000 years ago. And what did he say to his disciples? It is better for me to leave, because when I am gone, the 12 of you and the 144 of you, and eventually the thousands and millions and now more than 1 billion humans claim to follow Jesus as Catholics and Christians and spiritual mystics. He said, it's better for me to leave, because when I leave, I will decentralize the mantle upon my life. I will take the power and authority I have to do signs and wonders, the power and authority that I have to do miracles, to do healings, to heal both emotionally and physically. And I will give you, my disciples, you, my followers, that power. I will decentralize power from me, and I will give you the power. That's the theology. That's the theology. You see? Now, what's the philosophy? Now, let's just say that Jesus was an atheist, which is kind of weird to even think about. But let's say that Jesus never talked about spiritual things. Why does it practically make sense for the spiritual leader that's made a bigger impact on the entire world? This individual that we know as Jesus of Nazareth never wrote a book, never wrote a song, never built a statue, never did a sculpture, never did a painting, never wrote poetry, never held a political office, never started a business. He was literally a homeless man that had a bunch of people following him around, and he had all that power. Power to raise the dead, power to multiply food. He had all that power. Now, why does it philosophically make sense for that man with all of that power to give the power away to others? You can ask Google or ChatGPT anything you want to know. Moses had nothing. He'd go up in a mountain, wait for this mysterious God to speak to him. Jesus was a homeless man, constantly hungry, constantly thirsty. No internet, no access to the knowledge of the world. You have so much before you. Will you, not all of you, but you right now listening to me, will you make the decision to think about the philosophy and the theology of why decentralization matters? Because if you don't change your family, and if you don't change in your business, the government's not going to do it. It starts with your home. It starts with your corporation. It starts with your university. And if you will not make the change, do not expect the government to do it. The government will follow the people. Be part of the change. That is your opportunity. And I might raise my voice, but I'm not mad at you. I just want to make sure you hear me loud and clear. I believe in you. I believe this country is destined for greatness. I believe in 1,000 years people will talk about this time in this country, about what your generation is about to do. Will you be part of it or not? Because you're welcome to. And I thank you for your attention.
Well, that was quite the moment. Hello, Internet. We are back. Ted, scooch over. Come snuggle. So we're in the middle. So, Ted, you weren't there to hear the theology and philosophy of decentralization live, but you got to watch the video, and you have things to say about that. You know, we're talking about the business and finance world right now, the impact of Web3 and AI upon it. But what is your take on the philosophy and the theology of decentralization? Because here we are at Coinbase's big event, On-Chain Summit.
Decentralization is good. There you go. That's the short answer.
Give me the long answer. So we're here at On-Chain Summit. This is Coinbase's, small, intimate event for those involved in their Base app, the Base blockchain, the Base wallet. We're very grateful to be a part of it. And when you think about why should people decentralize? You know, why is there a faith community called Crisis King, CIK, that's the sponsor here? What is the desire to build a decentralized faith movement, a decentralized church? Why does that make sense from a philosophical standpoint, an emotional standpoint, a thought standpoint? How does it make sense from a spiritual standpoint, a theology, in terms of, why this stuff matters beyond just the here and now? So what's your thought on that? I'd love to hear you share with us.
Boy, so much to unpack. I would argue that Christianity has, from the beginning, been a decentralized religion. You even look at the Bible. The Bible was written by many, many different authors over centuries, over millennia. And to think that all those different authors had a coherent message throughout, I mean, that's like, it wasn't coming from one authority figure, although we believe in one God. But it's from many different voices, many different prophets. And then Jesus, his message behind that is, everyone can come to me. Like the whole symbolism of when he was crucified and he died, this veil between the Holy of Holies and the holy place in the temple was rent from the top down, indicating that now he's giving access to God directly through faith in him. I mean, that's a very decentralized approach. He's doing away with the need for you to go through different mediators to get back to the Father. So that's a very decentralized approach. You look at the early church, it was very decentralized. They didn't have a top-down leadership. They had 12 disciples that worked together, that shared power. You see them having conflicts. You see them going out and they figured out how to resolve those conflicts. It wasn't just one man making the decision from the top down. They had to work through those conflicts. You also see it moving so fast because it was a decentralized movement. It swept around the known world in an unprecedented amount of time.
Right.
That's the theological background. Also, you can come at it from a totally different angle. It works better. I think we've tried colonialism.
Right.
And I think we all agreed that colonialism, maybe there were some ups, but by and large, it's not good for us as Westerners with money to go into other countries and tell them we're right, you're wrong, come kiss our ring, we're going to build everything and you're eternally going to be subservient to us. Like we tried that. That doesn't work.
Well, our ancestors, all of our ancestors have been colonialized and have colonialized because that's just a reality. Right?
Yeah.
That's just reality. So it's not about whether it's right or wrong. I think everybody knows like slavery is wrong. Colonialism is basically wrong. So it's not a matter of, is it right and wrong? It has more to do with the fact of how do we make great decisions as individuals and as teams based on the fact that we've gotten a pretty good consensus on integrity, morality, do good unto others as you want them to do unto you. Don't steal, don't kill, don't lie. These are pretty standard kind of rules of engagement of how we live in society. But there's nothing that says you can't centralize power and authority. I mean, is there anything more centralized in the Catholic Church? Are we about to say that the Catholic Church is generally just completely wrong and has lost the mark? I know some people would want to say that, but that seems pretty aggressive to me. And there's no doubt that fully decentralized little house churches are not necessarily 1,000 times better or 1 billion times better, because all kinds of weird things can happen when there's decentralization. So when you think about the philosophy and theology of this approach, of the Coinbase approach, what comes to mind in terms of like, what do you think that's, maybe a little bit different than how most people frame things?
Well, I think the best approach is, it's a combination of things. It's understanding for decentralization to work, you have to have structures, you have to have systems, you have to have a decision-making process. I mean, one example of this is the military. Many people think the general idea of the military is that it's very, very top-down. And it certainly is a command and control structure. But when you have a team on the ground, like, using the special forces, for example, it is extremely decentralized.
Yes.
Because that team on the ground, they are given the objectives, but as to how you achieve those objectives, it's the officers and it's that team that's making the decision.
Yeah.
And then particularly with the special forces, the way they interact, whoever's leading, it is a dynamic, fluid situation, and it's going to shift from moment to moment as the needs of the situation develop.
Yes.
So it's this combination of, if you're going to wage war as a country, you need to have a top-down structure in order to just facilitate something at that scale. But then who has the data to make the decision on the ground the best?
Right.
So it's all about empowering them, training them up, creating those teams, and then those autonomous teams, the special forces teams that you can put into a very difficult, dynamic situation, and then they perform and they are empowered to make the decisions on the spot.
Yeah.
That's where I think the real future is. So it's like decentralization will work if we can build the infrastructure that empowers people to, like we talk about, in crypto, they talk about trustless society, trustless, technology. In other words, the technology provides the trust.
Yeah.
So it's, a different way of saying that is building upon trust rather than trustless. So rather than having to have an intermediary that you both trust in, like a central bank, the technology completely automates that process.
Yeah.
And that now it's just far more efficient. So it empowers people to trust one another without having to have, a big bank as an intermediary.
Well, I noticed Sticks for Crow said they're watching from Estonia, and I just popped that on the screen. I think something that's important to understand is great philosophy, great theology makes sense across every continent, every culture, every geography, for the most part. I shared something, it's only like, less than a minute long. It's kind of like my mystical view. I'm not a traditional, Catholic or Christian. I would consider myself to be a bit of a different, spiritual person. So I'm going to play this, and then we'll come back in less than a minute. And then I want to transition to a conversation that Ted and I recorded on the couch recently about content creation, where we think things are at, where we think things are going. But let me play this really briefly, and then we'll be right back.
I don't want to just inspire all of you to think through what Web3 and AI has been, is, and could be. I don't want to just inspire you to be able to make more money or have a more profitable business or have a bigger impact or save time with automation. I want to give part of my worldview that has kept me faithful, not faithful to a moral code. That's much more difficult for me. I was never a pastor because I cuss too much and drink too much and smoke too much. Like I was like, I'm never going to make it. But I clearly am mystical, and I definitely have a much more expanded view of life than just pain and pleasure.
Yeah, that's really cool. And a lot of people think Christianity is about morality, but it's really about relationship and a relationship with the divine, and which transcends morality. Well, hey, not long ago, we talked about content creation.
Yeah, we talked about you're the chief of ethics at our company. Why have a chief of ethics? Why is that important with AI? Why should content creators be able to count on companies like ours, companies like Coinbase, communities like CIK? So let me play that. And we have all these amazing leaders here. I'm gonna try to grab a couple of these leaders and have them sit down with me and introduce you to some amazing people that are building here at the On-Chain Summit
This
event
is very
here
educational
in San
and
Francisco.
informative.
Yeah, this is a great talk.
Yeah, I have watched.
We'll be back again in just a moment.
We're going to talk about Attention Live.
Yes, we are.
The company we've been working on for
6 years now. I've been thinking about the idea of the Gutenberg printing press of the digital age.
Yep.
Google's ceiling was our floor, right? Google's statement in the beginning was do no evil. And I'll say, TED helps me focus on doing what's righteous. How do we help the 3 billion people in the world that don't yet have the internet, are going to get it soon, and make $2 a day and have the greatest opportunity for upward mobility from a social and economic status, and the greatest opportunity for giving something to the world that they've never been able to give before, which is their stories. And then also just thinking about, like, you know, the girl from the ghetto that's 17, you know, that maybe the same opportunities would not be before her that was before somebody like an Oprah or Brene Brown or Ariana Huffington. But could we provide a tool that allows that young woman or that young man from a impoverished area that may not have the same opportunity? What if we provide a tool that allowed this human with these incredible attributes and abilities in communication and connection and inspiration and education to use what we've built to do something wonderful? So our slogan, since we started, has been Hello Future. Attention Live automates revenue for content creators using Web3 and AI. These two innovative technologies, the what, why, how, where, who, and when. We'll start with the what.
You can go live, and we distribute it to where your audience is on social media. And when you do that, we create an NFT off of the content.
Right now, yes, it's audio focused, but certainly I imagine we'll provide our tech stack for video. So when somebody goes to our system, they can grab a phone or a computer, they can go live, they can upload pre-existing content as live, and we'll send it to every social media site like YouTube, as an example. At the same time, we'll create a one-of-one token, maybe with commercial rights, or a one-of-many token, maybe with non-commercial rights, and we'll send that to a marketplace like OpenSea.
Problem right now is you spend lots of time, lots of energy creating content, and you can't generate revenue from it.
And so our solution is to ensure that they own their content. We automate distribution. We automate the ability to generate revenue through automated monetization. The creators get the lion's share of the revenue. So what that looks like is if a creator makes money through our system, that they would keep 90% of the money that's generated when they distribute something like a token. We would keep 5%, and we'd give 5% to the community of creators. And we don't know exactly how it's going to look, but something like a decentralized autonomous organization.
And a marketplace where everyone participates, where not only the content creator participates, but the fans, the participants are not viewed as consumers, but as partners. And they are rewarded for their attention.
Now, in addition to the creator making 90% of the revenue off the first sale, if anything that a creator makes through our system is ever resold, a second, a 20-second, a 220-second time, the person or entity that acquired that token would make 90% off that sale. Then the creator still gets a 5% royalty. Our company would take 2.5%, and another 2.5% would go to the community. So that means that in perpetuity forever, every time there's a transaction around something that a creator made, the creator is the primary person being benefited. We also help with publishing, analytics, licensing, advertising, education, and community. So it's much more than just a one-size-fits-all in terms of just this new business model. Let's talk about where we actually do this. So we say this is a new category that complements existing tech. There's 48 million content creators right now that are full-time content creators, but only 2 million or less than 2 million make $100,000 a year. So you're looking at a 4% rate of content creators right now with all of these incredible tools at their disposal. 4% are cracking a six-figure income. And we think that's a system that can be complemented by our specific technology.
It's something to tie all these things together, to complement them and or replace the functionality.
Right. Well, I think we should talk about the team for a moment. I'll start with our co-founder and president, Jennifer Harned. So Jen, she was an executive with a CFO president type role at Guitar Center, also at Bell Helmets. And she currently runs a 9-figure comic book company called Boom Media. And so she understands what it takes to scale a company to 9 and 10 figures and to maintain a healthy corporate environment for that organization to thrive in a consumer market.
I'm smiling because she's also a boxer.
She started the boxing thing at Notre Dame, the female boxing club. Well, Tim's the newest addition to our team. Tim was a innovative executive at GM for 20 years. Lenovo, the $80 billion computer company, they recruited him as their CTO, their Chief Technology Officer.
Yeah.
And so he left Lenovo recently to become a professor at Michigan. Tim also is a veteran, and I really wanted to have a veteran as part of our executive team. I have a strong sense that veterans are potentially the most underserved content creators.
Wow.
And so the thought of having a veteran with us that can help guide what we do, when he saw what we've been working on, he said, I have an absolute vision for how this can be used for musicians, absolutely how it can be used for education, how it can be used for marketing teams for the largest companies in the world. I want in.
Well, Tim's resume is so impressive. Who wouldn't want to work with him? And the fact that he'd want to work with us is just a dream.
Jessica Kill. So she has come on to lead our marketing. She's the best public relations person I've ever met, the most effective, great at telling stories, great at building brands. And she worked on a ton of different Hollywood movies. And then she has produced or co-produced events for people like Richard Branson and Tony Robbins. And I mean, she is so good at getting the world's attention.
I love that she's able to have this experience with big media and huge budgets, and also have her eye on this grassroots, scrapper, new type of economy. Right. And that combination is just brilliant, and it's rare.
Yeah. Our provisional was accepted in 2010.
Yay.
Or 2020. And then we just got word last week that our non-provisional patent has been accepted by the United States Patent Office, and it's now in the process of, I think, 35 other nations. So we are actively interviewing prospective clients currently, trying to find the right individual, teams, institutions, organizations that would make sense for us to bring on and give access to this product for immediate, right? So we're looking for 50 or so people to use this in Q3. So that's the next couple of months to get them on board and using our product on an active basis and build the case studies around them. And then by the end of the year, we'd like to have at least 500 people using it. Maybe we have 500,000 people using the product by the end of the year. But what I mean is 500 people that are really focused on getting the most out of it. And then ideally we open up the floodgates next year and it becomes a wildly successful product. If there is a prospective client watching, people like Oprah Winfrey, Brene Brown, Ariana Huffington, I mentioned Joe Rogan and Russell Brand and Tucker Carlson. I'll just mention 5 practical reasons why this caliber of a person or their team, their business partner, should really lean in on this. The problem that we talk about in the market does impact even the celebrity content creators. And our solution is, they may not realize it yet, but I think of Steve Jobs in sometimes you just create what the market needs and you tell the market this is what they need. The second reason is we have a world-class team that's worked together for more than a decade, and that really matters. And we've taken our lumps the last 6 years building this product.
It's been a long journey, exciting, good, hard.
Hard is good.
Hard is good.
Yeah, it certainly has solidified our team. It's not just that we are weathered individuals. We are a weathered team. And I think that's a great benefit for a prospective client and partner. The third thing is our platform infrastructure is already built. It's ready to generate revenue right now. This is the third iteration of our product. The fourth thing is it would make sense we'll be the category king. Finally, let me make it very personal to you. There is a first mover advantage. So if there's 1,000 content creators watching this pitch, your advantage is to let us build version 3.1 around you and your needs, so that version 4 is better. Thank you for giving us your attention. I hope that you will trust us with your time, your content, your energy, your trust now, and not wait 3 months or 3 years until we've proven to the world how important it is. May you be somebody that has enough courage to jump in with us now. And I hope that you are. And if you are, I look forward to being successful together.
Yay, that's really nice. I love that interview.
We are on version 4 now.
Yes, and it's very informative, and
we're very, very, very grateful for all the people. Most people that jumped in and used our product were in Manila and still are. So grateful for all the KOLs, the key opinion leaders that have found massive value with our product. I want to bring in some friends. So first I'm gonna start with Eric. Eric, why don't you come take a seat? Everyone meet Eric. Eric, why don't you introduce yourself to the party people on the internet?
What's up, everyone?
There's the camera right there, my friend.
Eric Skeldon coming in from San Francisco. First time to hang out with Ian in person.
Yay.
We've been hanging out on Zooms, hanging out in all these rooms, and I'm like, when am I going to give this guy a hug and see that amazing beard? So I'm happy to be here.
Big beard. I got serious things happening on my face. It's like a massive piece of carpet. It's true. So Eric, you had maybe the most successful digital asset community in history during the NFT run called Kingdom Warriors. Here we are at Coinbase's event for the Base wallet, the Base blockchain, the Base app. They have the massive hackathon happening downstairs. We have this incredible team. Over a dozen people on our team are here making amazing media. We have interviews with all sorts of incredible leaders. Maybe give us a little insight. What was your experience building a tokenized community, your first go around with Kingdom, with what you did with that community? And then what do you see happening now? This is kind of your second chance to do it with a different team and to do something that is pretty inclusive for all Christians, Catholics, mystics, et cetera. So give us a little insight in terms of your experience.
Yeah, thank you. And it was amazing. Shout out to like Katie Jordan and some other people who were
yes, everybody loves Katie.
Our Canadian
She's
friends.
Easy to love.
Yeah. And she was, I think, working for both of us at one time. And,
I worked for her. She worked for you. I thought she was the boss.
Yeah, she was the boss. She would have us really focus on our vision and mission. And anyway, shout out to all the people who, were saying like Ian and I have to work together years ago. And to finally we get to work together on a project. And when we first started in 2021, 2022, I just saw there was no one innovating in this industry. And I was like, it was like that verse where they say like, hey, here am I, send me, it's like, and I was like, wait, God, no one's doing this. Like, I'm not the guy. I was in Wichita, Kansas in a house that was paying $950 in rent, but I had a dream and I had a vision. And I felt like I was like, just go, just do it. And I'll help you. So I put a pitch deck on a Google Doc. I pitched 3 people. The first and second people, they're like, hey, this sounds really interesting, but I don't know about it. The third person was like, here's 50,000. Let's do this. Let's get this going. This is like an amazing idea. The wave is right now. Let's build it. And then those first and second people ended up coming on the team afterward once we started getting financing. Anyways, so the team just started growing. We hired people from Sony, Disney, and Marvel to help build the brand and the arts, entertainment, and really dreaming about how do we bring, like the idea was how do we build a Kingdom Disney that was crowdfunded on chain with NFTs. So it was like, what would a Kingdom Disney look like? How do we build our own media, our own Mickey Mouse, our own arts and animation? We had this dream of this Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia meets Dune world. Like, how do we build this IP? And you remember during that time, people were building amazing IP. You got people still together like Pingu and Luca still building the Bored Yacht Ape Club. So the Bored Yacht Ape Club, we did this like whitelist thing with the Bored Yacht Ape Club. We had like 20 of them in our Discord saying that we love the vibe. And everyone kept, even though it was covertly Christian, everyone kept saying, I love the vibe. Like, there's something different here. Like, there's something about your guys' art. There's something about the energy in this room. And I was like, that's heaven culture. I was like, that's heaven culture, embracing through technology. And I will say what I learned during that time, at least trying to onboard Christians, and this is what I even talked to you the other day. I was like, bringing Christians and secular people, is some of the religious thing was the thing that trampled it the most. Was after a while, we ended up kind of having to figure out who we were really going to serve and all that stuff. And it really, we did focus more on Christians instead of covert. And what I learned during that time was we did onboard thousands of Christians. They got a MetaMask wallet. 700 of them bought at least a $200 NFT or more. And then we onboarded them. We did 2 years of online education. So we were out and we used what's called a virtual event model, which was like these 5-day challenges where we
Alex just broke the record on that.
Yeah, the model that Alex just broke the record on, $100 million. That was how we did our first 6-figure day and week. I had a group. It was called Kingdom Collaboration Community. It was, and what God said is use what's in your hands, Eric. And at the time, I just paid a mentor that was from Vacaville $10,000 to learn virtual events. He was helping Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, and these guys. And I was like, he's like, use what's in your hands. You learned how to do virtual events. Why don't you just get people onboarded using virtual events to NFTs? I was like, so we figured out a way to do it through Stripe to build online education, coaching, consulting, the online space, books. We had people, putting their books, putting their courses in there. So it became almost like an education ecosystem where people would put their courses in there. People who would buy NFTs, they would say, oh, Eric, I want to donate this to the community. So people started putting their resources amongst the group. So it became like this Acts model that was like an Acts 2 model where people started putting their resources in the community for the community. And there was a lot of anointing on it. And it was just really God showing up through all of our speakers. I was kind of just co-hosting it, and I would co-host and bring stuff out. Our IP attorney was healing people in Zoom rooms backstage and the VIP after the main free stage. So like people were getting healed, people were getting delivered, and just learning about the kingdom
like
versus
the first time an attorney's ever done something good.
I know, right? And like the attorneys, the lawyers were not lying. They were, just doing their thing. And it was amazing to see like an Acts community come together like that. And that was what the best I saw was the Acts style community. The hard thing that I want to overcome this go round is the religious spirit always tries to get in Christian mixes. We've seen, a lot in Western culture, but just to figure out that space where the people like here at Coinbase, the people on Base Chain, the people who are, what so-called degens, or maybe they still got sin or issues, like all of us still have sin. Like, how do we bring them into the fold? Because they're seeking, they're spiritual, they're hungry for something authentic and real. And how do we steward that to actually let them become a part of it without being like, are you posting a Bible verse every day? Are you reading the Bible every day? Are you going to church every Sunday? If you're not part of this community. And that was the thing that tried to trample all the anointing of people that was starting to come in. So that was the best part was the Acts style, going back to the garden, going back to Acts, and then bringing it on chain. And so that's what I'm excited about.
So you just traveled here from Texas. You traveled with a couple of our friends that are world-class media folks. You traveled with Weston, who I'll have pop in here in just a moment. As you think about kind of the team, tell me what stands out to you about this team. Weston's about to sit down with us. What stands out to you about Weston? What is your feeling on being part of this leadership team to build out this decentralized community?
That is like the key. It is the Special Forces team. I was also in the Texas Army National Guard. I got to see like battalion commander that was one of the best like Special Forces commanders ever for one of the only airborne units that in the National Guard that was in Austin, Texas. And I saw how Special Forces and like these command units run. And, I ended up leaving the military and working in different corporate world. This has been the best experience I've had as far as leadership, as far as people, as far as talent. And that was the one thing I felt like we were missing with Kingdom Warriors. After the hard thing with the NFT world is the resources kind of ran out when you ran out of the project, right? You saw the NFTs, like, what's the sustainability? Is it royalties? And there wasn't that much royalties coming from OpenSea. There wasn't as much secondary market. So it was a very challenge that we didn't foresee during the NFT boom. And then when the volume dries down, we're like, okay, where's the research? Are we going to raise capital for our IP? Are we going to do this? And it's like, so having the talent we have here in Weston and the people Weston's bringing and Curtis is bringing, Ian's bringing, it's what we need, because each of these kings, each of these leaders, each of these queens, each of these people, we can't do it alone. And that's the message for how are we going to bring 1 million people, 10 million, or 1 billion. It's not going to be alone. It's going to be with each of those Lord of the Rings, 12 different tribe leaders bringing their tribes. And how do we make it so other tribe leaders can bring their tribes and make it a win-win for all of them?
That's very powerful, and what you shared is really very amazing. And I just wonder, what's your vision for this team? Because you are with amazing people. I know Curtis and Brandon, they're so amazing, including their family. I met their family. I love Regina and the children. So, what's your vision for this team?
Yeah, our vision is that we could like become like an Acts style community where we're like, oh, your wife is sick. All right, let's go pray for her. Like, oh, your son is sick. Like, oh man, like what do we need to do? Like, how do we think about families? How do we think about like culture of this team? Which I love that you guys bring that. Like, how do we, because in the tech world and the business world of sales, I came from, business development, sales, account management, where it's all about what have you done for me this week, Eric? Exactly. What have you done? What's your revenue this month? What's your revenue today? What's your KPIs? How many phone calls, sales calls did you do? How many leads did you put in Salesforce? And it was like, it's just so much workspace, which Christ came to like demolish that and like just give us all this authority without having to just work right so much for it. And so like, obviously we still need to steward it. We need to maintain it, but it's like, how do we actually do that in this hustle bustle culture America or Texas, where everything's bigger, everything has to be better, more money, more cars, more clothes. How do we do that? And so I don't know the answer. I just know Holy Spirit does. And if we lean on him, hopefully he'll show us, or not hopefully, he does show us the way when we ask and we surrender. And so.
Amen.
Our daily show is called Beachside Tech Talk because we live at the beach and the radio station is actually on the sand, on the lagoon, looking at the ocean as our house is. And, our whole premise is how is Web3 and AI transforming different sectors of society? So on Wednesdays, today, we do business and finance. The word transformation in English came from the word metamorphosis. Maybe one of the most powerful metamorphosis experiences that someone can have or that someone can see is the experience of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. And, part of the thought process that, myself and my 4 co-hosts have, 2 of them are here, Ted and Malachi, they're running around doing more interviews. And then Dan, who's at the station, and Nigel, who called in. Part of our thought process is that these technologies can cause a complete metamorphosis when it comes to how the businesses run, how the finances are run, how the operations, administration, all that stuff can be done so much better with some of these automation tools. When you think about kind of your final word, how are you seeing, we're here at the On-Chain Summit event, Coinbase's event. So just take Coinbase alone, right? Coinbase is one of the top Web3 companies in the world. They have lots of AI integration. How do you see Coinbase's ecosystem, the Base blockchain, which the hackathon's about, the Base app, the Base wallet? How do you see this technology providing a metamorphosis opportunity for communities like our tokenized community, CIK, individuals like you and myself and Riza, or entire organizations like our company, Attention Line, which is fully integrated into the Base wallet and Base blockchain? So just final word on transformation, metamorphosis before I bring in Weston.
Yeah, I believe it is through what they're doing right now, through decentralization, through what they're doing through Jesse, giving Jesse the authority that Jesse carries. Jesse's like carrying this authority and mantle to break like the old systems and bring in a new system, a new wineskin. And so they're bringing decentralization. They're bringing the DEXs to Coinbase. They're bringing, it's this Web2 company, S&P 500, but they're not even afraid to go against the big banks, which I admire, Brian Armstrong and Coinbase. They're saying, look, we essentially are a bank. Like we steward tens of billions of dollars. We can build a base app that can be the everything app for finance and payments. And then we can give creators, resources for their money or for their time. And then we can make a decentralized exchange. So our coin, your coin, Kiki, all these coins, we can have our own treasury, our own stuff. And then millions of people can now onboard it easily through Played, putting money on Coinbase and Coinbase, the decentralized exchange, exchanging for these coins and building these ecosystems, these small communities, big communities, and all that coming together is really decentralization is going to be the key, which they're finally, as we journeyed these past 5 years, it's been hard. It's hard to get the old system to say, oh, give the power back to the people. That sounds tough. I want to keep the power in these corporate entities.
Right. Well, I'm going to transition to a quick video. One of the things about all of you coming here is this is home for us. My family's lived here for 10 generations. My ancestor, Lieutenant Moraga, he founded the Presidio in San Francisco, the city of San Jose. So 250 years of experience our family's had here. And so when people like yourself come, I say, hey, welcome to my home.
Hey,
San
thank
Francisco.
you.
Reason and I have had some cool opportunities to travel and go to other people's places. And so here's a quick little 2-minute video of our recent trip to Mongolia. We went to speak at the Unleash conference, which was basically training a bunch of young, enthusiastic, faith-oriented business people on this technology. This is a quick 2-minute video as we let Eric break away and we bring in our next guests.
It's very cool.
You look so pretty. I give you new information?
Yes, of course. It helps a lot.
Like, what's something I taught you recently? Yeah. I was just teaching you that that's actually a Chinese restaurant, and they do karaoke.
Yes.
Yeah. Mongolia loves you so much. Welcome, Weston, to the live stream. All my friends out there in the World Wide Web, this is our buddy Weston. We were together in New York. We were driving around Times Square in the Cybertruck. That was pretty cool.
That was
Cyber
really
Beast.
awesome, yeah.
Created some pretty fun content in that way.
Your driving was a little
jerky.
Yeah, it was a little jerky in the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Can you attest to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that self-driving that you're talking about?
Yeah, no, it was a self-driving.
Yeah, it's not my fault. Not my fault, man. I'm a victim. I'm a victim.
Just when we were turning into the parking garage.
No,
that's what I remember.
When I first got it, I mean, it was weird. The whole thing is weird with the Cyber Beast. The suspension's weird. The braking is weird. The acceleration weird. It's definitely different than the other Teslas. Yeah. So hey, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming to San Francisco, being a part of the On-Chain Summit event. I know everyone at CIK is super thankful to have you be a part of that. You brought the guys to Texas recently. Tell us a bit about the Texas trip.
Texas, I mean, good Lord. It's been great, the great state of Texas. My family and I moved there about 4.5 years ago. And if you're asking about this ring, I did not win this. This is for a flag football tournament that happens at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium.
Yeah, that's where you brought Brandon and Curtis.
So Brandon and Curtis and the whole kick team were able to come behind the scenes and see what we do there. And flag football is on the rise. And so
no doubt,
kick is all about creating community and being able to have a meme coin that can fund certain things. And one thing that they want to be able to do is be involved in the youth and build community. And so youth flag football is on the rise, with it going to be an Olympic sport in 2028 here in California. Yeah, in LA. And so the LA 2028 games are coming. I'm not trying to get on the team. I'm too old for that, man. I played enough football back in the day. But no, there's going to be some amazing talent from the USA. Actually, they just had some world competitions, and the Mexican women's national team upset the United States women's national team. So they're in their continentals right now, and they'll have another tournament here soon. But Kick wants to be involved in that. And so they went to Dallas with us, and it was really, really cool to have them out there. And they want to sponsor a team. So we'll see what that looks like. But you might see some Christ is King swag on gloves and mouthpieces and all the things. So it's going to be a really awesome time. Yeah.
It is nice that the brand Christ is King, this tokenized community, it has a statement that so many people are excited about. So obviously for those that are investigating what you guys have built as a tokenized community, you had this idea that I thought was brilliant. You're like, you know what, maybe the number one person that's going to really want to participate in what we're doing to get started are like the grandmas, the moms, and the aunties. They know that at some point they're going to leave an inheritance for their children, their grandchildren, their nieces and nephews. And when they do so, it's just like handing over $1,000 or $100,000 is one thing. But if you hand it over and the store of value has a phrase like Christ is King is attached to it, that's a really powerful idea. Maybe you could dive into that big idea a bit more, like how you think this tokenized community basically could facilitate an elder, maybe a matriarch, to participate in helping this community kind of get up off the ground, right? It's kind of the whole thing of getting the rocket ship out into outer space, so then it becomes easier to get to go from place to place when gravity's not pulling it down. And this is still a new tokenized community, so in a sense, we still have gravity kind of pulling at us, right? And so this thought of like, well, what if we empower the elder matriarchs to feel like, oh, I can jump into this, store some of my value that I want to give to my descendants in this currency, and that way when they receive it, if it's worth the same that I paid for it, then that's the stored value, fine. If it's worth a lot more, then great, that's better for my descendants. And then it has a statement, and the whole thing of like the statement, Christ is king on a mouthpiece or on gloves. It's like, it's not just another OKX, BitGet, Binance, even Coinbase logo, or it's just a company name. It's like a statement that means something. It's part of what the tokenized community is. But maybe you could dive into that a bit more. I thought that was a cool idea.
Yeah. So as far as when it comes to passing on and leaving a legacy, just real quick, I know we want to talk about the meta, but let's get into a micro. With me personally, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. Now, you don't have to be a believer in Christ as your Lord and Savior for you to be able to have the meme coin, Christ is King. But what you'll feel is a difference in this community, because Jesus, he himself said that you will know, that others will know that you are my disciples based on the way you love and care for one another. So when you come into this community, it's going to feel a lot different than any other community that you've been in Web3 before. And that's going to open a door for you. We actually have someone on our team that had nothing to do with the Lord at all, came into the community and saw how things were. It was completely different, because this is not about grifting. This is about gifting. And so this whole concept and this idea would be exactly what my mother did for me, which was train a child up in the way that they should go. When they're old, they won't depart from it. Well, that's a promise from God in his word. And what ends up happening is some people will go astray. They'll go on their own way. You got the prodigal son and all this stuff. And so when you think about a matriarch or a patriarch, someone that was a founder of their family's lineage in faith, how can we continue to leave a legacy for that individual to come back to something? And what does that look like? So my mom, she actually passed away a little over 6.5 years ago, and I had to pay for her funeral. I had to pay, there was like some debts that I needed to pay as her child, and my sister and I put money together. And the only thing that she had was her home. And so we had to figure out how to keep it. It wasn't signed over to us. She didn't have a deed. She didn't have a will. She didn't have she had a deed for the home, but she didn't have a will. She didn't have a trust set up. And so it was very hard for us to prove all the different things. And so I thought, man, what would that look like if someone was trained up as the way that they should go in their faith, but then they depart from it. And then they're at their parents' funeral and they get this like vault, or they get this gift from their parent. Then it's like, Christ is King. And like, what is this? And it's this whole community that they log into, and they see, okay, wow, my mom spent $500 in Kick back in 2025. It's now 2055, and that $500 is
like 501.
Yeah, 501 is worth like, who knows? And the fiduciary responsibility, we have to say that, right? 501. But what if it was worth 5,000? And they're like, what is this? Like, that would be such a blessing. And so that's what I talk about, gifting rather than grifting, because we're not here to pull a carpet from anybody, a rug from anybody. We want people to buy and hold. And one of the greatest ways to do that is to leave a legacy. And I think this upcoming generation, they are really struggling to get housing and buy their first house and do all these different things. And so if we could figure out a way that the money can be put somewhere, stored somewhere, and that value of that asset grows and it's gifted to them rather than a grifting situation, I think it can do some really awesome things.
So I want to talk about, what is money really quick. So on this front, why is a US dollar so powerful? Our government, specifically our military, and our ability to negotiate globally to ensure that the US dollar is the primary means of storing and exchanging value. So what makes a token, a Coinbase meme token, which the current administration has said all these meme tokens are collectibles, not securities. So what makes, if you put $500 of US fiat currency into a meme coin like a CIK coin, what makes it hold a $500 value? What makes it plummet to being worthless? What makes it explode, like we've seen with Dogecoin or Shiba Inu or others, where all of a sudden it becomes worth 10,000 times more, right? 1,000,000% increase on the price. Like, how do you envision these things happening? Like, what's your take on money, tokens, stores of value, exchanges of value, etc.?
Yeah, I'm not going to push back on you too much on that, but my role with Kick is actually on the movement side. And so creating community outside and actually bringing the church on chain. So my background, I was baby Jesus in the Christmas play. My mom hid me in the house of God at a really young age because my dad left when I was young. And so I didn't meet my dad until I was 19, and God restored that relationship, and it's been amazing to see. All I knew about my dad was that he played football. Not to push away your
I get it. Yeah.
Your question, but for me, I'm new to the Web3 space. I'm new to cryptocurrency, and obviously I worked in tech and startups and different things like that. Like the last time I was in San Francisco, I was in a room like this with Tony Zhu and Andy Fang of DoorDash, because I was one of their first sales reps getting merchant acquisition and getting them on the platform. But really why I say that is because I've been wanting to know that question as well. And so, not to push it back onto you, but I would love for you to explain to me in 5th grade terms and words on why you think that is something, because I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, so let's make it really simple. All currency is a faith-based mechanism. So the reason why people have so much faith in the US dollar is because they have faith in the US military. They have faith in the United States' place in the geopolitical world and their ability to negotiate, do tariffs, kick countries out, do different things that basically move the needle. And they have faith in the long term, kind of, even when we printed, almost over $5 trillion we printed during the pandemic, people still didn't lose their faith in the American dollar. So the reason why the dollar has held its value and increased in its value compared to others like the pound, the euro, the yen, the Canadian dollar, the peso or whatnot, is because people have faith in it.
Yeah.
If today half of the people that hold US dollars sold their dollars for yen or pounds or euros, the dollar would crash. So the dollar is completely dependent upon you and me and Riza and everybody else involved to continue to hold our store value in dollars in our bank account and spend in dollars and get paid in dollars. And that whole ecosystem is what allows the dollar to remain steadfast. Therefore, how much easier is it for a brand new currency, a CIK, a crisis king currency, or I still think Doge is a new currency. I still think that Shiba Inu is a new currency. How much easier is it for those currencies to go up 100 times or go down 99%? The reason why it's so easy is because the mechanism of the community all seeing what's going on is right in front of you. With US dollars, we aren't looking at the US dollar compared to the yen, compared to the pound, compared to we aren't checking should I sell the dollar? Should I keep the dollar? Is it going up 3% today? Is it going down 0.5% today? Like that is not a thing that we think about. But with cryptocurrency, you do. You're like, oh, it went up 5%. I should sell now and take profit. So it plummeted 20%. I should buy more. I'm going to buy the dip, or whatever their thought process is. And so all currency is faith-based. But getting into a tokenized community like a Crisis King token, getting into that community, a lot of it is based around it's a brand new thing. So because it's so new, you have this volatility that can be very challenging for people emotionally. That's why the thought of saying, hey, I'm going to acquire this, I'm going to give it to my descendants, may not give it to them for 20 years, but in 20 years, hopefully this will have a massive increase in value, because over the arc of a generation, more and more people put their faith in this token as a means of storing value and exchanging value. So that's one reason why you see these radical ups and downs. Now, obviously, because the token's so new, it kind of hits that mark of it's easy for our token to double in price in one day, go down in half in another day. Even though it's stable, it just happens. The market starts moving things around. So that was kind of my thought on that front. But if you had other questions on it, I'm happy to.
Yeah, no. So that was something that my wife was even asking me. My wife and I, we've got 4 kids, and so we've normally done stuff with real estate as far as, you know, any type of investment or anything like that. That's as far as we've gone. So to get into the crypto space, obviously we know some people that have Bitcoin. My dad knew a guy that was in Vegas that was mining for Bitcoin, had a lot of it. And so it's one of those things where I don't really know where to put my dollar. I know there's, you know, you can buy silver, you can buy gold now. A lot of people are doing liquid gold and a couple different things that are coming out. So for me, it's one of those things where I want to be able to figure out where I can put something where I know that my children are going to be taken care of. And so that's kind of where that connection was made.
Yeah.
And when something's worth less than a penny on paper and has the ability to get to a cent, that gets me excited.
Yeah.
So that's why I've been pretty, I guess this group would call it bullish. I've been pretty bullish. I'm learning all this vernacular from the Web3 space. But yeah, I'm pretty bullish on Christ is King because of the team and because of the mission and getting the church on chain. I am a lover of the local church. I think it's what I know it's what God is building. And until Christ returns, you know, that's the way that God is doing what he's doing in the earth.
Yeah.
So I look at it as like, I've worked for some amazing people in my life with Tony Zhu, Andy Fang over at DoorDash. And, you know, I worked for Flippa and ZocDoc, Osiris and Oliver were over there, and Ritesh Argawal at Oyo, and all these different guys that are now worth billions of dollars. And I look at it and I'm like, okay, Lord, like, I've been building all this stuff for all these men that are doing things here. But at the end of the day, God, the creator of the universe, like I always think of it, what if Elon Musk called me and said, hey, I'm building this new thing. How'd you get my contact number? First of all, I would ask him. He's like, I know how to get that stuff. But, you know, I'm building this next thing. I want you to be a part of it. What do you think? Like, I would absolutely say yes. But then here we have the creator of the universe, God himself, who spun the world into existence by just his breath. And his breath is in our lungs. And he's building something. And what he's building now is the local church. And the word tells us the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And so if he's building that, I want to be able to build that. And unfortunately, the local church has always been very slow to adapt to change. And so when I look at it and I look at Web3, I think we really have an obligation to be the religious meta and kind of stake our flag in the ground and say, look, this is what happens when the church comes on chain and we're better together. We're better to be able to be on a visual ledger and let everybody see. Because most of the people that have issues with churches, they're like, you guys need to tax the churches. They're making so much money. All these pastors are flying around in private jets and all these different things. And it's like, you know what? It would be really awesome. And the churches I've been at have done this, but only to a certain extent, is putting up like their budget and allocation and all that stuff. If we had the church on chain, it would be a visible ledger for everyone to see. And guess what? If number one, when you're giving to a local church, you're giving as though you're giving unto God. You're not giving to get, and you're not giving to the guy at the pulpit. So you're doing that to honor God, and God will obviously honor that. But when you talk about having the church on chain, we're talking about like visibility and a ledger and transparency and legacy. And guess what? If someone utilized some funds in a way that I didn't agree with, I can just simply go to another church. And so I think that's something that a lot of people have missed out on, is the fact that there are people who have church hurt that have left the body and are just tuning in online or just doing this different stuff like that. And the Bible is very clear. Do not forsake the gathering of believers. I think we need to come in unity, unify the body of Christ. And if we unify under the banner of Christ being king, it will be able to do some amazing things. I think we are so fragmented with over 40,000 denominations that it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts, and everybody's doing all these different things. If we came underneath that banner, it would be amazing. And if people start to hold this coin and start to utilize it. And you can buy, sell, and trade with this currency. Christ is King. I know you're saying it's a collectible, but you can trade in that collectible and get something else. Or there's some cool technology that's coming down the pipe that will allow us to be able to do that type of stuff. So I'm just extremely excited to see the church coming onto chain. And if places like this, we're here at the On-Chain Summit right now, if Base, they want, 1 billion users on Base, you're going to have a majority of Christians on the platform, because it's so many people that are a part of that faith, right?
Yes. You have a question, honey?
Yeah. Earlier, when we introduced ourselves, I told my husband that I'm a Web3 simplifier. So I help Web2 people transitioning, even a Web1 people transitioning to Web3 to learn different kinds of jargon.
Yeah.
So your idea about for grandparents, for moms, about this, CIK. So can you please share it to our audience? Can you give an analogy? What analogy are you going to explain to them in the easiest way so that they can easily understand? We have our parents who are in 70s, and at their age, we want, of course, your idea to apply it to them and to explain to them that they can easily understand. So
that's a great question. Thanks for asking that, Riza. So I just had this kind of analogy that popped up in my mind when I was walking on the streets, and I was doing an interview downstairs before I popped up here, and I ran up here. So I'm sorry, I was a little bit late to this stream. But one thing I was thinking about was, it wasn't too long ago that there wasn't a lot of faith that was required in the US dollar because it was backed by something that was tangible, which was gold. And you had vaults and all this stuff. And I can only imagine what that looked like back in the day. I grew up in Arizona. My name is West. And so wild, wild West days of just like buggy and going from, the East Coast and traveling and making that trek, and family members dying and all these different things, the sacrifice that it took to travel, and getting to a place and there's gold in them there hills, and like the California gold rush and people panning for gold. Like, what did they do with that gold? At the end of the day, like, they stored it in their house or somewhere. And so I would say with this transition, there isn't as much faith as there once was in our government. And there's definitely not as much faith as there once was in the ability for them to govern our finances. And there's definitely not as much faith, like blind faith, as there was to just like put money in the bank. Because what is the bank doing with your money? They're utilizing it. They're doing all these different things that you could be doing with it, but you just are ignorant, or ignorance is bliss in many cases, but you don't realize what they're doing with your money. And so there will be a time, and I pray it's not soon, but there will be a time where they're rationing how much money you can take out from your own bank. And so there's a lot of
do that, especially with people of color in America. So before everybody knew that Puff Daddy was a bad guy, I would spend time with his team, never with him directly. I never went to any of his parties. And we were talking about how I could help them use Web3 means, because basically, if anybody with Bad Boy Entertainment that was an artist went in and wanted to pull out even $100,000, let alone a couple $1 million, like, they couldn't do it. They were just, who are you? You have to wait. It was all these different roadblocks, and they really felt like it had to do with their ethnicity. They felt like they were singled out because of the way that they dress, or because of their skin color, or whatever, because of what they do for a living. And so it already happens right now. It's just maybe not. It's not felt by the white grandma the same way it's felt by the young artist. But nevertheless, it shows if it can happen to one, it can happen. Hey, I was watching Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and then their partner that opened the Liberty Financial thing. And their whole thing was like, when our dad lost the election in 2021, I'm not sure if they actually said that, but that was the premise of what they were trying to say. When Joe Biden won the election, however they said it, we all got debanked. Our businesses got debanked. We personally got debanked. And so like we had no choice but to look into cryptocurrency, and that's what drove them into Web3. So I thought that would be an interesting.
Yeah. And so I'm huge as far as like,
you are huge.
I'm huge
emotionally,
on the fact,
physically.
Golly. I really feel like it's
taking up so much space.
I'm huge on getting this information into, you know, the grandparents' hands, because I think it's vitally important. And if they diversify their portfolio, and I look at it as, instead of putting gold in your house and exchanging your gold to this like bank vault where they're going to take care of it better and the robbers can't come in and all this different stuff, and then you give that away, and then it's like, okay, we're going to give you this paper, and this paper shows how much gold you have, and then you have this paper. What I look at it is, I was like, if rationing is already happening on that, you know, on that scale of $100,000 of Bad Boy Entertainment, hey, who are you? You can't take this money out. Let us check you out a little bit more to get this credentialed so that you can have your money. There is going to be a time where it's like $100. You know what I'm saying? Like not $100,000, like $100. And I'm not trying to do doomsday scenario, but what I am saying is, for those grandparents, remember what your parents had to go through to, you know, they grew through the point of all these different like technologies and all this stuff. My great grandma, she lived to be 104. One of my grandmothers is still alive. She just turned 100, from Kansas City. She was an indentured servant in Kansas City. So when they did the Emancipation Proclamation, that's why also you're calling me huge. When they did the Emancipation Proclamation, Kansas City had something called the Kansas City Compromise, which basically they were saying, hey, if we let all of these slaves go, there's no way that we're going to still be able to keep up with our infrastructure, all the different things that we're doing, you know, in the actual flow of what they needed to do to keep up with crops and all the different things. So my grandmother her family opted to stay with the slave owners, and there was rules and regulations that were going on there, but she was a servant in the house that her parents were slaves in. And so that's not that far removed from where we are today. And what I would say to grandparents is, do you remember when people would save their money in their own homes? This is a way that you can take your money out of the bank and put it into a vaulted system that's decentralized, that stays where only your family, it's an inheritance where you can pass this down and no government has to take their little piece. Because at the end of the day, when I had that situation happen with my mom, where the only thing that she had was the home, we had to pay off all her debts before the home was in our name. And so it was a big risk for us to be able to do that. And then, you know, she refied and did a couple other things. And so it wasn't as clean cut as we would want, but there was a lot of steps, and there was just so many people in government like that wanted their little piece of the pie. So what I would say to those people is, hey, what if there was a way, and guess what? There's a way for you to be able to take money out of your bank where the government is going to rule and reign and take their piece and their cut and put it into a decentralized exchange, have it in a currency that you believe in, that shares the same values that you share, and then gift that. We're not going to grift, which would be like going on and pulling things off and trying to get the dips and all the no, just hold it and give it away to somebody in your family. And so that's what I would say. It's almost like this way of storing your money in a vault at your house rather than it being at the bank, which we know that there's a lot of corruption with that. So there's less corruption in a decentralized exchange from what I've seen, because it belongs to the people. And I think it's gonna help a lot of individuals be able to get sovereignty and freedom.
Well, thanks for coming to sit down with us, my friend. I'm gonna pop you in for a more intimate one-on-one interview with one of our guys. You know, you came here from Texas. I was just talking with Eric. He also came from Texas. Oftentimes, Reese and I are the ones that are traveling. I just shared a video of us in Mongolia for the first time. That was the Unleashed conference, which was very similar to the summit, teaching young people, business people, how to use Web3 tools, like what Coinbase is doing. I'm going to show something called Istanbulish. I was in Istanbul recently. I was there with Hedera, and I basically did keynotes all day long and panels all day long. And this is a highlight of that moment. But again, since all these friends have come here to be with us where we're from, I thought it'd be fun to kind of show you all the internet friends out there, some of the times we've done some traveling ourselves. We'll be back again after this video.
It used to be that innovation moved very, very slowly, right? If a king or a queen wanted to innovate and make a castle, right? They want to change everything about the development of their country. And they think, we have this big vision, right? We want a place to protect our people. We want a place to celebrate together, a safe place for us to gather. How long did it take to build a castle? Generations, hundreds of years. And you imagine a king or a queen saying, we're going to do this innovation. We're going to have something new for our people. And not for us, not for our kids, not for our grandkids, but for our great-great-great-grandkids that we'll never meet. But they will honor us and our legacy because we had vision for what could be. So the question is, what kind of vision do we have in advanced technology space? You know, for all those involved with Crypto Female, and I honor Crypto Female, I think it's amazing what SEMA and the community have done. How about for all those that are involved in the crypto, blockchain, distributed ledger space here in this region? What kind of vision do we have around innovation? You look at about 100 years ago, and the idea for innovation was to have a vehicle. But there was an entire industry for horses. There was everybody involved with breeding horses, with selling horses, carriages, and the horseshoeing, and all the different parts of the industry. It was one of the largest industries globally, was the industry of transporting ourselves using animals. And in about 20 years, we transitioned to using vehicles. Innovation. How about innovation in the last 15 years or so? I know that here, there's not a lot of people using Uber, but around the world, taxis, they just kind of disappeared for the most part, and Uber replaced them. Did anybody cry for the taxi companies? No. Why? Because people value saving time. They value having safety, knowing that the person that's driving them around, that person is accountable. How about what happened with Airbnb and hotels? Did anybody cry for the hotels, that the hotels don't have as many people inside their organization, their places? No. It was very simple. There was a better option. Go stay at somebody's home. Now imagine how fast it's going to be once we remove the middleman, that is Uber and Airbnb. What took a couple of years to transition from taxis to Uber, or to transition from hotels to Airbnb, imagine how quick it will be as soon as one of the protocols figure out how to remove the middleman so that people can start to rent cars to each other using blockchain and AI technologies, when they can start to open their home to one another using these automation technologies. Innovation is just going to get faster and faster and faster. Now, if innovation is only done by the degens for the degens, if it's only done by the anarchists for the anarchists, there will be a limitation. We have to see innovation done so that every type of government will adopt it. It can't just be the developed nations. It can't just be democracies. We need every form of government, even those governments that maybe are not quite as, celebrated as others. We need all forms of government, all types of businesses to lean into innovation. So at Hedera, we are one of many layer 1 blockchains. And we try not to have an attitude of we are the best. We just recognize that we're really great at certain things. And so today I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we think that we've had some great success with around how we do governance. and the fact that we are focused on sustainability and what it is that we've done around innovation. I don't always share slides. What I usually do when I speak is I'm on a one wheel. It's like the size of a skateboard. It's like a motorcycle skateboard, and I roll back and forth. And I talk about this, and I talk about that, and I roll. But I don't have, the airplane wouldn't let me take the one wheel today, or when I came. So I'm here just walking around like a normal person. I'm not floating like I'm in the future. And what I will discuss with you today is some big concepts. Now, I don't often use slides, but here I'm going to, just to be sure that I can reinforce a few simple concepts around governance, sustainability, and innovation. I will take some time to let you ask questions if you have any. So I would encourage you to be courageous and ask some questions. Before I jump in, I'm going to say something about honor and respect. And that there can be honorable approaches that are both noble and savage. Savage is not bad, and nobility is not good. Nobility and savagery, or humility and confidence, are different ways that we express ourselves, and both of these ways can be done in an honorable and a respectful way. Something that I've come to understand about the Istanbul culture is that honor is of the highest priority, that people want to be honored and that people show honor to one another. And I think that that's a wonderful thing, and I'm happy to be here and to enjoy that part of your culture, and I have enjoyed that. I felt very honored by all of you that have welcomed me to your country, and I hope to come back many, many times. So I want to talk about this concept of nobility and savagery, or you could say humility and confidence. I don't really know what the right word is here, but I like noble, savage. That's kind of my thing. And I want to talk about how nobility and savagery is really important as you think about the concepts I'm going to discuss when it comes to innovation for the enterprise by the enterprise. First of all, we live in a world that is divided, or that's what the media would tell us, right? That we're divided? That we're either Democrats or Republicans in America, or that we're part of the Labour Party or the Conservative Party in the UK, that either we are Muslims or we are Christians, that we are this ethnicity or that ethnicity, that we're male or female, that we're young or old. Now, are we really as divided as the global leaders or the media might want us to believe? Now, why would they want us to believe we're divided? Because divided people are easy to control. You see, if they're evil, and if you're part of the good guys, then whoever's in charge of the good guys can easily control you. They can manipulate you. They can get you to march to their drumbeat and say what they want you to say and do what they want you to do because you're part of the good guys and those are the bad guys. Well, this happens in innovation. This happens in enterprises. This happens in governments, is that we often will have people try to divide us. And so it's like, I'm part of Avalanche, and that's the good guys. I'm part of the good guys. And I use AVAX. And everybody else, those are the bad guys. And I would propose to you that it's not about good and bad. It's about there's honorable, respectful things in all of these environments. And sometimes things don't always resonate with us because maybe some groups are more noble, more humble, more meek, where other groups might be more savage, more confident, more aggressive. But you see, one is not better than the other. Both can be quite honorable. Both can be loving. Both can be service-oriented. You know, with everything that went on with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried, everything that went on with Luna, I got really, really concerned. So I started talking about nobility and savagery, and what I would say is that we need more noble leaders. We need more leaders that are noble, that act like kings and queens, that are here to lead by service, that are here to lead by example, that are here to set the tone of humility and respect and kindness. But we need more savage communities. We need communities to be savage and to demand nobility from leadership. We need communities to be savage and to be unstoppable, to be confident, to believe in themselves, not to cast stones at others, but to drive forth toward their specific goals and objectives. And so I want you to keep that in mind. As I talk about some of the things that we find to be really exciting at Hedera, please understand that in no way do I express a distaste for the other layer 1 blockchains or layer 2 blockchains. In no way do I see us as superior to others in all ways. We just think we're pretty good at a couple things.
Of course, yeah, we will.
I'll talk to some grandparents.
Sure. Thank you. Okay, we're back. I'm just alone here. I'm still waiting for my husband, Ian. We're live. We're back. Yeah, it's just a few seconds ago. So Ian is here again.
Ian, where is mommy?
You grab that seat. Come take a seat with us.
All right, are we live right now?
We are.
Oh
We're
my
live.
goodness, hello everyone. I'm so happy to be
That's
here.
our camera right there.
Hi.
So, what is your TikTok handle? Because I got to pop that in because you have like the craziest, most amazing TikTok channel.
Oh my goodness, thank you. So I have 2 TikTok accounts. The first one is Annie Hernandez with an underscore at the end. And then I just made.
Is it this?
Yep, just like that. That's perfect.
Bam! You gotta check it out. Super entertaining, and you don't just post there. You post on all your clients' sites as well.
I
Their
do.
TikTok accounts.
Yes.
So we were just watching, or what I played during the break was something from Istanbul. Do you travel a lot to do TikTok, or is it mostly like where you live, or
It depends.
stateside? Or?
I do it everywhere.
Okay.
If I'm traveling, I will make a TikTok wherever I'm at.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of everywhere.
What makes a great TikTok?
That's a really good question. So
Like, why do you think you've been so successful?
yeah, there's 3 reasons that people will watch any video on social media, and that is to inspire, to entertain, or to inform. And so if you hit any of those 3, then you will have a successful TikTok video. And so I think my goal with every video I make, I honestly just like to have fun with it. And I think the entertaining side is what gets people.
That sounds easy what she shared, like those 3 things. It sounds easy. Like, it's so easy, right? You know, reaching that millions of followers and viewers, to be honest, in reality, it's not easy.
It's not. The execution is hard. It's like the idea is right there, but executing it can be very difficult.
What's the most motivating thing for you? Is it the likes and the comments and the engagement, or is it the chase of saying that was the best video I ever made, or is it the opportunity to get a client? You know, if I do this really well, someone's going to see it. So is there a driving motivator for you when it comes to being a content creator?
Yeah, I think, man, that's a good question. I feel like for me personally, I don't know what it is about my videos blowing up. It's like a hit of dopamine. It drives me to want to create more and make more. And then on top of that, I think the brands that you get to work with, the doors that get open from creating videos and especially creating viral videos, that kind of is like my driving factor of like, okay, let's keep doing this.
Yes.
Like, let's make more.
Yes. And do you do a lot of collabs?
Like as in working
do you collaborate
with
other
brands?
TikTokers, or you mostly just collaborate with your clients in terms of like,
Yeah.
they're trying to sell a product, they're trying to push their sport, they're trying to bring attention to their thing that's coming up, so I'm going to help them? Or do you like do collabs with other TikTokers and you get together and TikTok with one another?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. A mix of both. So my little sister is also really big on TikTok right now. And her and I, when we make videos together, it's like the dynamic duo. Like, people love it. So I actually really enjoy making content with my sister. I do have some friends in the space too. I wouldn't say I make a ton of videos with them. I keep it mostly about me and my family. And I don't really go outside that.
Can you please tell us how did you start doing the TikTok? what year, and what was the first ever content that you created?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. So I started TikTok when I was in high school. I was 16 years old, and TikTok was this brand new app. Like nobody was on TikTok. It was this.
Was that during the COVID or before?
No, that was prior to COVID.
Okay.
That was back in, I want to say like 2017, 2018,
Wow.
around then. And it was this new app. There were not a lot of users on it. And I saw it and I was like, wait, this is fun. This is like a creative outlet for me. So why don't I just try making some videos? And within my first week of having the app, I hit a viral video. And it was a video of my outfits. It was a video of my clothes. It was so funny.
It was like OOTD?
Yes, literally. I just filmed a little.
Girls love to do.
They love it. It was like a little snippet of my outfit every single day, and I put it all together, and it went viral. And as soon as that went viral, I was like, whoa, this is so cool. I have to keep making this. So then I made another video and another video and every single video after that just started hitting and going viral. And I was getting posted on other accounts and getting posted on Snapchats, and I was the cover on YouTube. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy, this whole world.
Wow.
And so I just stuck with it. And by the time I entered into college, I was at 250,000 followers. By the time I graduated college, I was at over 500,000.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And what was your best video ever that you have made?
Oh boy, this one I'm not super proud of because it's so. I was like 17 when I made this, so it was have you heard the term rage bait?
Rage bait, no.
Where you basically are getting people angry online?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
You're basically riling people up.
Oh,
so I created this fake scenario, but it was a real life thing. So I gathered all of my girlfriends, like me and like 6 of my cute little high school girlfriends. And I was like, guys, we're going to toilet paper our friend Ava's house. And we're not going to tell anyone. And we're going to take videos of it. And this is going to be so funny. And so we went to Walmart. We got like loads and loads of toilet paper. We go and we start toilet papering our house. I'm filming everything. And I'm like putting the video together. And I was like, how funny would this be if I said that we're going to toilet paper a cheating ex's house? So I was like, this is perfect. This is going to get people riled up. This is going to get views. So I post the video. And to this day, that video is my biggest video. It has over 15 million views.
Wow.
It has like 3 million likes. It is the craziest video, and it was fake. It wasn't even real. I mean, we did the toilet papering, but it was just our friend's house. So.
Wow. So we're here at Coinbase's On-Chain Summit. The whole premise is, for people to enter into a decentralized world, for content creators to find ways of not just creating content, sharing it, but to own it and to let their audience own their content. Have you ever experimented with that with your content? Have you ever made any of your content into NFTs? Have you ever thought about like creating a membership or access or extending licensing or even non-commercial rights? Like, tell me about your thought around what you do with your content, because it's one thing to create something, post it on TikTok. It's another thing to like get more life out of it afterwards and try to make it accessible to other people. Yeah,
absolutely. So I've actually never done anything with the NFT world. I have seen it on social media, but I personally don't know a whole lot about that. So I can't speak too much into that. But as far as like monetizing and doing other things with content, I know some apps have made like exclusive sections accessible, so you can create specific content to subscribers that want to pay for your content.
Right.
And that's a really great way to monetize it. I did that at one point. I wasn't seeing a ton of success there, so I stopped. I would love to dive more into the world of figuring out how to monetize content better and how to figure out like what to do with it. I think a lot of content creators are kind of in that, just like they're stuck, because it's like the best way to make money really is through brand deals.
Right.
And so there's no like middle ground of, okay, I have all this content, what do I do with it other than a brand paying you to promote their stuff? So that's a really interesting question. I would love to see some sort of solution to it. I'm sure there is one. I might just not know about it.
Yeah, and we'll share what solution we've created for that specifically at Attention Live. But with us having an audience, I want to stick to ask a couple more questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So there's a big concern about ownership of content for TikTokers and for YouTubers. So if you take the terms and conditions serious, which most people don't, but if you do, the basic premise is if you use our system to post, we own everything. It's ours, and we give you a license to keep it on our site. But the license doesn't even make you a partial owner, nor does it even give you the legal right to post it on other social media sites or to make any money from it. And they have the right to do anything they want with it. Now, let's just say that that's a crazy terms and condition that they never follow. Certainly, they're not going to hold somebody popular to that. But how does that make you feel? Like the fact that the current state for content creators is you can't make money from views. You can't make money from comments, likes, or subscribers unless you do something weird like, here's a paywall. You want to see my stuff, then that stuff never goes viral because it's not public. So you post content. Basically, to make money, you have to have brand endorsement deals, which means you have to be a good salesperson, a good customer service person, a good person with P&Ls and your profit and loss, and how are you bringing up brand endorsement deals to pay for stuff. And so that's not that easy of a job for people to do. And then on top of it all, you spend all this time and energy being creative, and you don't own it. So does that concern you? Do you think about that? Do you and your friends talk about that?
Yes.
Do you think there's a solution for that problem?
Oh my goodness, yes. So actually, I used to get all the time. I used to get brands that would reach out specifically. I know Barstool is big on this. They would reach out and they would ask you to sign over your content. And in exchange, they called it an exchange, they would post your content on their account. And so for someone like me, when I was a lot younger and I didn't have any sort of like business backbone, I thought that was so cool. I was like, wow, I'm getting exposure from this account.
Right.
But if you think about it, my video already went viral.
Right.
I'm not benefiting from that. They're benefiting from that. And I get nothing in return. And I just turned over the rights to my video. So it's this really unfair system. And I think that was going on for a really long time until people woke up and they started realizing, hey, they're stealing content and they're profiting from it. And we're not, the creators are not. And so there was a huge push. I want to say about a year and a half, 2 years ago, there was a huge push for people to push back on these companies and say, no, you can't have our content unless you pay us for it. So I have seen a lot of these companies now, they'll either try to pay the creator like all up front for it, or sometimes like they just will keep their contract and say, hey, like we'll post it, you get the exposure. If not, we don't care. We're not even gonna deal with you. So it's really hard. It's frustrating for me because I used to be one of the people that would sign those over because I didn't know any better. But now that I do know better, I am very firm in if I see anybody taking my content and repurposing it, I immediately send a message saying that I'm going to take legal action because they don't own any of my stuff. So it's a hard thing to figure out.
I mean, what if you could have AI search the internet and send out the agreements, and you have blockchain basically have agreements already in place. So for instance, somebody's violating your content, they're posting it, and there's automatically a protocol that already says this content can be leased, non-commercial rights are this, commercial rights are this, etc. It can be used, but here's the ramifications. A penny for every view, or a minimum guarantee of $1,000 and $1 for every whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
And then that way, what if you just had AI going out and just basically pinging everybody and saying, hey, you're violating this content. Good news. Here's 2 contracts that you can adopt. You can do this thing, you can do that thing, or you have to take it down. If you don't take it down, then if you don't agree to one of these 2 contracts and you do take it down, you still have to pay for violation. If you agree to one of these 2 contracts, we will waive the violation. Or so that would be the premise of where the future is going for content creators, is that AI is going after and doing your job or your lawyer's job, your administrator's job, and then leveraging public ledgers, saying, well, here's a smart contract already on the blockchain that basically put this action in force. I mean, we've talked a lot about this. Do you have anything to add to it?
Yeah. No, I have a question for her as a TikToker. You heard about this AI, AI thing, and I'm not sure if you have heard about the AI content creators, right? So, what's your take about
The AI content creators. Yes, I have seen them. There's a lot of them that are viral, and they're not real people. It's so interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I have so many questions about it. It's kind of a mystery to me because I've seen it and I'm like, the crazy thing is they will go and post pictures, these AI content creators, they'll post pictures with real people in the pictures, but the person is AI. It is the craziest thing. It's a huge mystery to me. I know one of the bigger ones, her name's Michaela. If you guys have heard of the AI Michaela girl, yeah, I don't really know what to make of it. It's yeah, I don't know.
Has someone asked you if you're real or AI?
Oh, I actually haven't had that yet. Probably because I don't know. Yeah, probably because I'm a little too real. But yeah, that stuff is crazy.
I mean, have you thought about doing that yourself? Creating your own AI version of yourself? To basically work for you 24 hours a day, nonstop. People want a brand endorsement deal. You say it's X with so many zeros. You say, but if you just want my AI version, she works 24/7 and doesn't mind if you want 5 edits because she'll just do whatever you want. And I knock 2 zeros off. So you can pay me what I'm worth. You can pay my AI 99% less because the machine does it all for me. So this is likely the future of almost every successful content creator is their premium, their time, their actual involvement, and then their AI expression, their shadow of who they are, the shadow of who their social media has expressed them to be. That would be like on discount, 90%, 99% off.
Wow, I've never even, you're blowing my mind right now. I've never even thought about that. That's really cool. I guess I wouldn't even know how that like works. I would definitely want to look more into that because that would fix 99% of my problems.
So I'm trying to think, like, there's not a turnkey solution right now. Everybody has like different pieces of the puzzle put together, but I think that ultimately the first step is to like clone your voice and then protect that. Clone your image and protect that. So what I would do is I'd like go through the process of uploading the 10 photos or 100 videos or giving access to your TikTok, saying the 300 words, right? And like get a version of your voice, get a version of your image. Then you own that, you have that. Now you can build an agent around yourself. And then you can have an agent that is like a version of Annie, call it Annie AI, right? And Annie AI looks like you, sounds like you, speaks with the same tone and the warmth and the excitement and the charisma, holds the phone like you hold the phone, makes videos the same length that you make. And all of a sudden you have kind of a version of yourself that you're growing and maturing over time. On that front, let's say that you did do that. One question I have for both you and Riza, because Riza has been a content creator off and on for over a decade. And if you had an AI version of yourself, would you want all of what makes you you? Or would you want what's it called? Photoshopped version? Airbrush version. Yeah. Would you want a Photoshop version of yourself? So what I mean by that is some days makeup and hair look amazing. Some days, you're not bloating. Some days the clothes are just on fire and there's no wrinkles. And other days it's not like that. You can't get this right. You can't get that right. Things just don't settle. And so then you don't feel great about how you look, or your voice doesn't sound right. You're kind of not feeling well. You sang too hard last night. You sound raspy. And so when you think about the future of content creators, potentially creating their own AI expressions of themselves so they stay in control of their brand, what is your thought around, if I did that, would I want, Riza's a bodybuilder, would I want my AI version to have an extra 10, 15 pounds of muscle because that's something that's important to her? Or, for others, it's would I want my hair to be longer? Would I want my eyes to be a different color? Would I always want to be, the fittest I am, after a run and, fasting for a day or whatever. So you guys get my point.
Yeah.
So what is the thought that the two of you have on that?
For me, I don't think so. It's a good idea to have that kind of idea, like changing everything, because my experience meeting with content creators in the Philippines, I don't wanna mention her name, okay, but she attended our event in the Philippines, and she has millions of followers. So she went to that event. I don't know if you met her, but I met her, and then they introduced it to me, and they were like, oh, I see. But when I checked her TikTok, she looks so different. She looks so different because I don't want to say anything against with that, right? But she looks so different, I couldn't believe that it's her. Even other people in that event, they couldn't even recognize her. They were like, oh, stop.
Well, she looked a lot different at that event, off and on. And you see this with like musicians; they change their outfits a bunch of times. I mean,
not only
she
that,
changed her outfit,
her
hair changed, her face, everything.
Her body, her skin, super airbrush. The body super, I don't know, distort, something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think so. It's a good idea.
Well, what do you think? Would you have it be identical? Would you have your AI track your health on your watch or your scale, and your AI gets skinnier and heavier over the seasons? If you cut your hair, you want your hair to be cut right away with your AI, because there's a lot to be said about if we have an AI expression of ourselves. Do we really think that we are not custom tailoring ourselves anyways as it is? My social media, I've been active for 15 years. Social media gets to see 0.0001% of who Ian Utile is. It's the part that I want to show the world. And so I already control it. And it's not like this is a thing just with content creators or just with women. If you open the Yellow Pages 20 years ago and you go to the attorney section, every single attorney picture was the photograph of that attorney 20 years ago, 35 years ago, when they thought they were the most attractive. And now they're old and they got a double chin and they lost their hair, and they still use the same photo from 15 or 30 years ago because they think that's what will get someone to call the phone number. So it's not like this is a woman thing or a content creation thing. This is like a brand marketing thing. And and I think it's going to become a very important question for very successful content creators like yourself, where there's an appetite, where you say no to more brand endorsement deals than you say yes to, right? For someone like you, it comes down to like when you start to unleash this AI version of Annie, whether it's you're in full control or you do it in partnership with somebody, what decisions are you going to make around giving the people what they crave, beauty and polish and eye candy and ear candy and all the things that keep people engaged and make them not swipe up? Or are you going to give them authenticity and transparency? You say, no, that's who I am. I have the shaky camera and I'm authentic. And people know that I'm real. So what's your take on the big concept?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. There's like a very small part of me that is like, man, I wish I could be perfect all the time. I wish I could put a perfect version of myself because I want to appear that way. But I feel like that would be so just ingenuine to who I actually am. And I think a huge thing with social media that people are starting to wake up to is these false realities that people are posting. And it's like nobody can relate to that. Like nobody wants to even watch that because they can't even relate to that because that's not reality. That's not their lives. And so we're starting to see this like uprise in influencers. I want to call them like micro influencers because they're not like huge, because it's a up and coming thing of just regular people showing their regular life, showing like the behind the scenes of, hey, I have kids and this is what my house actually looks like. And this is what I actually look like when I wake up in the morning. I don't have my hair done. I don't have makeup. And I think people are starting to connect more with that because I think we went so far one way where everything was so perfect and curated and it just hit a point where people are like, okay, like the reason that I have anxiety is because I'm on my phone and I'm seeing everybody else's perfect life. But I have some comfort when I see a creator that has something that's genuine and that has something that I can relate to. And so I do think that if that was an option, it would be so easy for me to want to be perfect, but it also wouldn't be genuine to who I am, and it wouldn't be anything that anyone could relate to. And I would want to create something that inspires people, that people look at and they're like, man, okay, like I don't have it all together, neither does this person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that to me is more important than appearing a certain way. And then also kind of what you said, like, I wouldn't want to be the person that looks one way online and then someone sees me in real life and they're like, whoa, she's like completely different. I always want to appear, you know, how I am online. I always want to be that in person. I don't want to be a big shock or a big, like, you know, there's no disconnect there. So
Right.
yeah, I think
That makes
that's
sense.
how I would answer that.
Well, we're here at On-Chain Summit, which is Coinbase's event. Base app is basically telling the world, if you have an app on Google Play, an Android app, an Apple app on the Apple Store, 30% of all your revenue goes to the big trillion-dollar corporation. At Base, you keep 100% of your money. Also, they say you post on TikTok or any other social media channels, it's not your content, you don't own it, you have limited monetization, at least legally. If you post here on Base, you own it, it's a token, and people can buy it and collect it. You can make money from every single thing. Also, a lot of places like TikTok will have a creator program, so they will benefit the creators that do the best, but it's a very competitive landscape now, where Base is like, we're going to benefit the creators too, but in a different way. And it's so brand new that like anybody can do it. So I think a big question for you being here, if you average out like 100,000 likes per video, and each video you post gets you one brand endorsement deal, would you prefer to not have to do brand endorsement deals, just make amazing content, have way less people watch it, but be able to make the same amount of money? So what I mean by that is you might get 100,000 likes every TikTok video, where maybe on the Base app as it's getting started, maybe it's 1,000 likes. But whatever money you'd make from a brand endorsement deal, you might be able to make the same amount of revenue just by being on Base from this new approach. Is the dopamine rush of having something go viral and the chase of virality so powerful that it doesn't really matter if you get compensated the same? Like, part of why you do it is for that experience of like the sport, right? The chase of trying to get that touchdown in football, trying to get that grand slam in baseball, trying to get that, you know, whatever it is in whatever sport it is somebody's going after. Like, because content creation is a sport in that regard. So do you love things the way they are? You love chasing after 100,000 likes, popping on a video? Or is the practicality of like, I'd rather just have a committed audience, a lot smaller, they follow me, and I benefited financially in a comparable way? Is that intriguing?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think I'm kind of in that boat of like, I get so much dopamine from the rush of like going viral. And I mean, I think I would probably rather have a consistent audience that I'm making the same amount of money versus doing all these brand deals. Because to me, brand deals aren't the exciting thing. That's not like why people watch me. They're not watching me to learn about soap or, you know, fruit. I don't know, things that you can promote. They're not, you know, and so for me, that's kind of like out of my way.
Right.
And if I can make the exact same amount of money without having to do that, 100% I would go that route.
How did you connect with the Crisis King team? Because you're here, Weston brought you from Texas.
Yes.
And do you have familiarity with Crisis King as a tokenized community? And what's your thought about what you've learned so far? Because these are the folks that we're all here making content for.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I feel like I'm still learning more every single day, even as I'm here. I'm learning more, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it more. But I got connected, pretty much through West. So I'm with Albert, and Albert and West worked together on a different brand. And so West saw Albert's media and was like, we need to bring this media on board. And so then we got connected with Curtis and everyone else back in Texas, and they saw some of his stuff and some of our stuff together. We worked together on a lot of projects.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we ended up here. I'm learning more and more about it. I definitely would say crypto and bit, like all the Coinbase, I have some familiarity with it because my dad is huge in crypto.
Okay.
He loves it.
It
but
loves him.
Yes.
Crypto
Yes.
loves everyone.
It loves him. He's been in it for a long time. He's been to the conventions. Like, he loves it. And so I have like knowledge from that. But yeah, the Crisis King movement I think is so awesome, and I'm like just so thankful to be part of something that is actually kingdom minded, because nothing else is on the market, and there's nothing else like this. So yeah, I'm learning more and more every single day, and I feel like there's a lot of things I don't know that I would love to learn.
And maybe finally, do you have any questions you want to ask before we wrap up?
No.
Okay,
That's
so then
all
my final question is, for any young person that's watching us live, and for those that are watching, thank you for your attention. For anybody that watches this later, tomorrow or in 100 years, it's our great grandkids. What's your advice on people that want to be creators, want to be successful? Maybe they've tried for years or even over a decade, and they've posted and nothing's happened, or maybe they were successful at one point. They had virality, now it's gone, right? The algorithm changed, whatever it may be. So how would you try to encourage folks out there that are, needing a shot in the arm?
Yeah, our son wants to be,
Which one?
Tension and Nathan.
Right.
They want to be creators. Like, they want to be viral. They want their videos to become viral.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Our 12-year-old and 8-year-old children.
I love that. Well, I think there's a couple things. I think the first thing is to just start. Like, you can talk about it all day long, you can think about it all day long, until you actually start making videos, you have no shot. And so I think the second that you make a video, you're in the game. And then my next piece of advice from that would be, look at your videos and every single day to ask yourself, how can I be 1% better than I was yesterday? So go back at that one video and say, my attention was lost here. Okay, on my next video, I'm going to be 1% better by switching this or making this small change. And so I think the small changes over time add up to, better videos overall. And then I think another thing is, you have to be genuine to you, because that's what people like. They don't want you faking something. Don't go on there and do what you saw someone else do just because it went viral. Do what is authentic to you, because there's nobody that's going to do it better than you. And so I would say every single person has something to offer, and you just have to be able to figure out what that is, show the world, and then just every single day focus on that 1%. And I think anyone can do it from there.
It's awesome.
Is consistency also a key for that?
Yes. And that's why I said every single day focus on 1%. Consistency is huge, because the more you do it, the better you'll get, and the more, it's like working out, the more reps, the stronger you get. So it's a muscle. It's a muscle that you have to work.
Well, on that note, I'm going to play a 20-second clip of something I shared at our recent event about encouragement and the importance of it.
That there's something significant that happens when a person or a people speak faith and life and goodness and a positive thing about someone's life. When you call the gold out in somebody's life, or you declare what could be in somebody's life, that there's something very significant about that.
So I was at a AI event that I helped co-produce called Project Voice. I think this is the 4th year that I was there. It's back in 2022, a while back. But on the front of encouragement, I was trying to tell the old guard, right? The folks that were the founders of Siri and Alexa and Bixby, the ones that were like leading the charge with OpenAI, and it's before Midjourney was around, before Stability was around, like early on. And these new companies are rising, these new media players are rising. And I'm trying to tell them, like, guys, those that are established, we need to help those that are not established. And one of the great ways you can encourage someone is to help them in what they're doing. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll be back again in just a moment.
Finish this phrase for me. There's no I in a rising tide raises all. Okay. Let's talk a bit about collaboration and where we're at as an industry. So let's start with a story. February 13th, 1986, my parents come home with my little brother. that changed my world. Now, my parents had adopted my cousin before I was born, so I had some idea of being in a family with a sibling. But now it's my own little brother. He comes home. And all the experiences, right, of like wanting to hold your little brother. I'm 5 years old at this time. And then eventually my parents adopted my best friend from school when we were in elementary school. So I grew up with my younger brother, my best friend, and my cousin, and my parents had taken the four of us on a family journey. Now, every time some shift happened, like my little brother being born, it transformed everything for our family, and it transformed everything for me. The question that I would pose to all of us today is, how are we doing individually and as an organization with all of the little brothers and sisters that are popping up in the AI industry? So I could pull lots of wonderful examples, but let's just talk about Nuance. So some people at Nuance had an idea. It's a little brother called Cerence. I think that's a pretty unique model to look at, that when an innovation team and an arm is doing some really cool things around conversational AI, really specific to cars, that there was enough flexibility in a somewhat established organization to where the leash got so long that Cerence could become independent and go public independent. Are we as executives, and is our organization prepared to make those type of decisions? Do we believe that it might result in a 10x return if we take the risk to empower this new idea? What are the little brothers and sisters of the Project Voice community? Is it the metaverse? I would challenge you that it likely is. Does the metaverse work without conversational AI? Not really. Like, do we actually think people are going to walk around with cool chrome glasses that has augmented reality on them, and that they're going to have a controller walking around, inputting things with thumbs on glass or fingers on a keyboard? No, we all understand that whether it's augmented reality, partial immersion, virtual reality, full immersion, whether we call it a metaverse, but it's really just Facebook's closed centralized system, or it's an open metaverse that Decentraland or Sandbox is building, that these things will require the technology that our teams have been building. The metaverse is likely a little brother. Tomorrow, there's going to be 8 startups. Brett is going to be pitching. I got to meet Emily. There's 6 other people that are going to be pitching their ideas. How are we going to respond? We're going to be the big brother and make them come and kiss our ring and ask for our time and beg us to connect with them and always kind of keep them at an arm distance? Or are we going to go out of our way to do for them what we wish others would have done for us? Does a rising tide raise all ships? Are we part of a team, or are we just about I? If you saw JP's post yesterday on LinkedIn, the theme of the post was we. And as I read your post, JP, I just kept thinking, I want to be part of that we. And that's the invitation for us. Whether I give you the invitation or not is totally irrelevant. I think this is the quiet beating at the door. How will you treat the little brothers and sisters in the industry? The startups, the innovative teams that are popping up inside of our organization? Because as John talked about accessibility and data and making good decisions and the elephants in the room, one thing John also mentioned is, if we don't make good decisions as an industry, potentially there won't be a Project Voice in a few years. And you can see this playing out How many people were here with us in 2019 and 20 that as soon as conversational AI wasn't the hot thing, they bounced to NFTs, or they bounced to the metaverse, or they bounced to whatever else seemed like the hot thing to raise some money or get a great enterprise client? And the evolution is, if we don't collaborate together and encourage and foster innovation in our environment, that these environments of peers gathering to sharpen each other may just not be available. So that's the thing I wanted to hear this morning. So this is for me. Sorry for being so selfish. I wanted to be reminded of the importance of Brett, Emily, and the other half dozen people that will be pitching tomorrow. I want to be reminded that if all of us are looking at our computers and our phones, it sure says a lot when they only have 5 minutes to share what they've toiled over for dozens of hours. So maybe we could just do one little thing and just pay attention for those 8 pitches. Maybe that's part of being the we. You see, it doesn't take some sort of gargantuan effort. We don't have to make crazy 90% turns and totally change our trajectory. Just like a 0.5% turn, consistently over time can often lead us to the promised land. And I want to go to the promised land with all of you. Now, our promised land might be different, but I imagine we can all resonate with what JP wrote about as he declared the inspirational message about we. And so that's what I want to share with you this morning. Bradley, thanks for inviting me to be a part of it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. You know, the basic premise is, like, so often there's people that are established like Coinbase, and there are newcomers like Christ is King's tokenized community. And I always appreciate it when the established players, whether it's a person like Brian Armstrong or Jesse, or it's an established company like Coinbase, the massive company, or Base, their blockchain, or the On-Chain Summit, their event. These are established players. And I always find it encouraging when I see these established players make room for new people to play in their space. This is my friend Curtis. Curtis, why don't you give a quick intro of yourself to everybody so they can get to know who you are? I got to change this name from Annie Hernandez. You're not Annie Hernandez.
No,
you are
I wish I was Annie.
You are Curtis.
She's super talented. I wish I had her gifts, but no. My name is Curtis, and thank you, Ian and Riza. Always, you guys are amazing, and I love chatting with you guys. So,
you too.
I'm one of the co-founders, co-CEO, if you want to get technical about it, of Christ is King. But honestly, I'm just somebody that likes to dream, likes to build, and I like partnering with organizations like Base and Coinbase because, you know, they have a phrase right now, Base is for everybody. And it's rare, you know, as the founder of Christ is King, it's like just that name right there kind of excludes us from a lot of secular places. It does, or at least it can be a barrier to entry.
Yeah, I won't take you to the bar or the strip club. Or,
I'm not a good time.
I've never even been to a strip club. I'm just playing.
It's just, you know, it's true. I was actually joking with Regina, my wife. I was like, I'm looking forward to seeing how the Crisis King team shows up when we have poker night, when we have the bars and stuff, because it's really not our world. We shut down at like 9 p.m. You know what I mean? The average of us. But it's really nice for Coinbase to say that Base is for everybody. And I've been on a couple of podcasts and I said, if that everybody truly means everybody, if we're inclusive of all people, then we have to be inclusive of the 2.6 billion Christians on the planet. We are a large group, and I understand why. Honestly, I'm self-aware enough to understand why Christians are often pushed out of things. Because there is an ethos about Christianity that can be judgmental, but truly at our core, Christians, mystics, Catholics, as you say, we're actually really genuinely giving people, we're loving people. If we're following Christ, that is our core ethos. And so at Christ is King, that's what we're trying to convey to people, is that when we say we want to bring the church on chain, it's not anything weird. It's literally, we want to move money and give access to the unbanked around the world, and see if Christians are willing and churches are willing to give transparency. And I actually think, I was talking downstairs, that we're going to see who the Pharisees are in the world very soon. If we can create a platform that brings visibility to tithing and spending and brings the power back to the congregation, I don't think it's going to be Coinbase. I don't think it's going to be the world. I think they're going to be accepting of us. I think they're going to be like, you guys are awesome. You give to people. Great. I think it's going to be the church that's like, we don't want to use that technology. So yeah, I don't think we're up against the secular world. I think we're up against the church.
It's interesting that the epistles, which are the letters that were written, for those that are not super familiar with faith stuff, a couple things just to understand is there's 66 letters in what we call the sacred scriptures, which are what Catholics, Christians, and about half of it, 2/3 of it, the Old Testament, is used by Jews. And some Jews are more Orthodox. They only look at the first 5 books called the Torah. And in fact, many Muslims, Islamic folk, they also look at that as a foundational part of their worldview, their history view, because Father Abraham has many sons, and many sons have Father Abraham. So this thing that we call the sacred scriptures is actually 66 different letters. These letters are written over the course of about 2,500 years from all these different authors: murderers, kings, prostitutes, shepherds. I mean, it goes on and on in terms of the type of people that are writing: doctors, Jews, non-Jews. It's pretty wild how diverse it is. It's written in 3 different languages. And so there's all of this context around what is the Bible, the sacred scriptures, right? And so when you think about that, and you think about how much these stories kind of permeate all of society, and then you think about like how when you type in Google, Christians are, Google doesn't auto-populate sacrificial, loving, people that love their enemies, hopeful, faithful, encouraging, likable, kind, gentle, long-suffering. Like, that's not what Google auto-populates. Google auto-populates things like judgmental, arrogant, hypocritical. Now, Google's so mean.
It's mean.
Now, I think something for people to recognize is the way that the epistles, these letters, were written in the New Testament. The wording that was used was all Roman wording. So when Jesus said, "You are my apostles," what he was saying, and you can capture this in the story that's now a film, Chosen, right, by Jenkins. And so in this film, he goes, "Okay, you're all my apostles. I'm going to send you out 2 by 2. And they all look at each other like, did he just say we're the sent ones? Like, what is he talking about? Because the Romans use that word. Romans would send out apostles, and apostles would be sent out to go Romanize, to go colonize a territory that they had just conquered. And so Jesus was saying, I'm going to send you out as a colonizer, but a colonizer of love, colonizer of sacrifice, of hope, of faithfulness. I'm going to send you out to bring a different kingdom, an upside down kingdom. And so another word that he used, that was used in the New Testament, was ecclesia, which we've translated to be church. And in our mind frame, we somehow turned what was this beautiful thing of like a community, a living organism. Like it talked about it like a body, right? Like Curtis is the mouth, so loud, and Riza is the ears, so quiet, and I'm the nose. I'm smelling something all the time. So it's a body, right? And the body, the church, the ecclesia, is like everybody has their place and their function. And so what's interesting to me is that the churches, these little buildings with 4 walls, have gotten so big and so powerful that even you trying to build a decentralized faith community, bringing the church on chain, bringing the ecclesia on chain, bringing the ecclesia to the blockchain and vice versa, that even you are like, yeah, but I don't really think the church is going to be all about it. And I would just say like, well, the ecclesia might be all about it. And that's a living organism of kingdom citizens that are in some way or fashion following Jesus, which was always his invitation. He never told us to stop smoking or to listen to this kind of music or to dress like that or to speak like that or to work at this place. What he told us to do is follow me, live like me, watch what I do things like I do them. So the reason I go through that is we've talked a lot to the people on your team, and the audience may or may not have a ton of familiarity with some of this stuff. I want to lay a groundwork and specifically lay the groundwork for, even if the institution, the box that has church on its name, right? The Church of San Francisco, the Congregational Church of San Francisco, the Baptist Church, the Pentecostal Church, the Catholic Church, the DSCS, all these places in San Francisco that call themselves a church, they may not be excited about decentralizing, about the vulnerability, authenticity, about everything being tracked. Every time somebody, invests a dollar in doing good, that they actually can follow that, which is what the blockchain provides. Yep. Maybe they aren't excited. Maybe they aren't as powerful as they think they are. And maybe we shouldn't be so concerned about these big institutions, because either they can lose all relevancy and do what they're currently doing, or they can change the way they're doing things and somehow regain a measure of relevancy that is being quickly lost. And you can find that to be true as quickly as going to Google and typing in Christian churches are, and what you won't find is what we'd like to see. What you will find are things we don't want to see. So back to you.
No,
I just gave some context.
No, it's a fair point. You brought up the word apostle. It's such an interesting word. I think in our environment and ecosystem, the word's used a lot more than others. And this Greek and Roman context for apostle, it's interesting. Jesus used the framework of society then to express, and it was powerful, especially if his disciples, who were arguably at the time being oppressed by the Romans. Right? What have you. The fact that Jesus would be like, go be like the Romans. Yeah. And they're like, what do you mean? But when he said, be the sent ones, what the Romans would do when they sent the apostles out, it's super interesting. The apostles would go forth, and sometimes they would let culture stay the way they are, but they would infuse it with the culture of Rome. Yeah. That's what the apostles would do. They'd be like, you guys can keep your own currency. Like, you guys can do your little temple worship, but you will act in this way. We're going to implement the Roman culture to an extent where you are tied into us. And that's an element of control. What Jesus was asking for them to do is implement, as you said, the culture of the kingdom of God, which is peace and love and righteousness and all of those things. And so I actually feel like a lot of us have an apostolic calling to the blockchain. It's weird because it is a mission field. It's a world that the church hasn't really gone into. We're being sent into a world. It may be digital. It may seem ethereal, and it's like, oh, it's just this technical grid, but people are living on it. Right. People are inside the blockchain right now, whether that's them expressing themselves to being part of a meme coin community or a PFP on X. Like, they are in their minds. They are on the blockchain. They interact with it daily. Their lives circle around it. They have conversations around it. And so when somebody like myself or Ian or Riza, when we step into a space on X, or when we're here at a summit, an on-chain summit with Coinbase, we're sent ones. We're taking a culture that we have, this culture of the kingdom of God, and we're infusing it into the blockchain. We don't have to come out there and wave a banner and say, become a Christian. We need to be an example. And that example is like all the things on Google that aren't listed. Right. We need to be all the things that should be listed, that are in scripture. And so, you've been on some X Spaces. I've been on X Spaces. We've been on podcasts recently with a lot of the Coinbase.
You did great yesterday with Bill.
Yeah. On Bill, Bill's awesome. He's such a sweet guy. He should be here in a couple of days, and they have been really welcoming. And this is the thing: we aren't showing up as our what we are is in our name, Christ is King. But I'm not showing up waving that banner. I'm showing up with humility, with love, and with a sense that I want to be part of a community and understanding like this is their world. I'm stepping into their Ephesus. I'm stepping into their ecosystem. But as an apostle into the blockchain, my job is to come bring the elements of the kingdom of God. And I think if we do that, I think, to your point, I think you're poking at this, I think we're going to be really surprised at what the ecclesia looks like soon. The ecclesia, the people, the churches that don't move forward as God's starting to shift things, that say, I don't want my money on chain. I don't want people to be able to see what we're doing with their money. That's fine. You don't have to. But there's a group of us that are going to be doing that. Right. And I think it's going to be a new way to actually evangelize. I think the new church, I know the new church will be on chain. I know that people are going to demand transparency. People are going to demand accountability. Right. And the more and more that the church continues to falter on that, they're going to demand it more. And it's just natural to bring power back to the people. And that's our ultimate goal.
Yeah. I have seen what you guys doing, from the start. When we met you, the first time I met you was a National Prayer Breakfast. I just wonder, I just want to know, I'm just a little bit curious, how did you, who created, or who made that name Crisis King? Why did you call it Crisis King? There are many names that you can name that meme coin, but why it's Crisis King? Is it a message to people, or?
It is a message. So it's a little bit controversial. I could go there. So last year, the phrase Crisis King was trending on X. In fact,
for the wrong
reasons. And so you had a war going on X, and it became the most popular phrase, Crisis King, Crisis King. You had groups that were using the phrase Crisis King for more militant, maybe a derogatory claim, right? But then you just had Christians saying, no, Christ is king, declaring it. And it got so controversial, they were saying that it was racist and anti-Semitic to say Christ is king. It got so controversial that they were going to pass a law in the United States to ban the phrase Christ is king. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm okay with that. If you go back into the beginning of history, when Nero, so what happened is, so a little history lesson is, Jesus is crucified, he's risen, right? And then all of a sudden the church starts to spread. Holy Spirit pours out and the church starts to spread. Well, people didn't really like the early Christians. They weren't really accepted. It was spreading like wildfire. But the people that didn't, the Jews that did not accept Christ, and Nero, who was the emperor at the time, they were going around killing Christians. Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament, he was one of those Jews killing Christians. And then God grabbed him and said, Paul, please stop hurting people. And so anyways, the phrase that Christians would say right before they were murdered is Christ is king. And then they'd be hung up as Roman candles by Nero. So the phrase holds a lot of historical weight. And when I went to sleep one night, somebody told me about a meme coin, and I looked at this video by Murad from Token 2049 about a year ago. And Murad was saying how the first group of people that did a religious meta, like a religious token, a cult token, a movement, but with a religious essence, would be the #1 token in the world. And I was like, that'd be really cool. I went to bed and I literally woke up the next morning and I heard God say Christ is king.
Wow.
And I called Brandon and I said, Brandon, I think we're supposed to build a meme coin.
Yeah.
And his first response was absolutely not.
That's amazing.
He was like, absolutely not. Because there's a lot of negative sides to meme coins. It just is like the rug pulls, and people are brutal out there, and there's a lot of people scamming people. And so we knew to navigate this, it would be dicey, and that there would be a lot of people that say, I'm sure there's people that are going, oh, those people are racist because of their title, Christ is king. That's fair. I think a lot of people in the church could be throwing stones at us right now because we're using cartoon character and we're being lighthearted about something that some people take very seriously. But I do take Christ seriously. But I know that I wanted it to be consumable by the masses. And I think a lot of people are still on the fence of like, so what are you guys trying to scam? Are you guys trying to take money from people? There's always going to be those people. So the only thing that I can do at this point is we keep showing up. We keep being intentional, having high integrity. Doesn't mean everything's perfect. But I think soon people will see as our awesome roadmap. Kind of we walk out a roadmap that we have really good intentions to bless the trenches.
The reason why I asked that, because yesterday it was Nathan's meet and greet with the teacher at school, and he was wearing that Crisis King shirt, and he was so proud. And this is what he asked this teacher: can you see my shirt at the back? Can you read that? And then the teacher said, yeah, Christ is king. That's cute, right? Yes, I agree. Christ is king.
Come on.
Yes. He's really very proud of the shirt. He's always wearing that.
And this is it. Like, this is the thing about memes that I think people overlook. Like, people don't also know that meme coins are like the top traded tokens in the world. There's more liquidity. Like, it's wild. It's like the new stock market. They pass it off because there's cartoon characters attached to it. But I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't like childhood things or cartoons or Marvel. A kid wearing the Crisis King logo, that base Jesus that we have, that we chose, which we actually took from this movie Dogma, which is like kind of ironic that we I think people of all ages like it. And I'm glad that children are liking it. I'm glad that it's being recognized. And,
yeah, even during the event, the True Love, where we gave away those shirts, they love it. Like, what is that GM? It's good morning. Oh, good morning, Jesus with the cup.
Yeah,
you know, like,
and it makes sense.
Yes,
yeah.
They like it. There's and most kids, most people who actually like really love that are kids. You're like, I like that little Jesus. I like that Jesus with the ball. I like that Jesus. Like, so they mostly children really appreciate that a lot with
That's
cartoon Jesus.
That's
so
right.
They love it.
That's right. And I mean, we are leaning in a lot of the things that we're going to be doing soon. We have this, it's part of what we're doing called Meta Crusade. They are now coming under Christ is King, and it's going to be Meta Crusade powered by Kick. Meta Crusade is actually, they just launched in Minecraft today. So they're in Rec Room and Minecraft officially.
Wow.
So they are part of our team, and they are meta apostles and meta evangelists, and they're inside of the metaverse, going after Gen Z and Gen Alpha and getting them saved, getting them baptized. Like, there's little baptismal pools in the metaverse. It's the wildest thing to watch. And you're watching kids like splash around in water with their little characters, and they're hosting church services every Sunday. And so we actually have a lean towards that generation. I mean, it's only going to be 5 years. Most of Gen Z is well into their 20s now. And in 5 years, you're going to see Gen Alpha is moving up. And if we don't, I want that to be the church on chain. I want that to be the generation that takes us. We are the pioneers. We're like the old timers. That's like, come on, guys, we've been trying to get this going. That's going to be the ones that really embrace it. They're gonna understand why this is important. And so, to your point, I think it doesn't really matter if the stuffy Pharisees give a flip about this,
right?
Because the generation coming up, they're gonna.
You've been able to hear me share the talk 4 times, tokenized communities. I did it 3 times in the Philippines with you. And then I did it once at NFT NYC. So if you had to summarize my viewpoint of tokenized communities and then personalize it into what is it that I've been trying to communicate to everyone about where we're at, where we're going with tokenized communities, and how does that apply to the beginning of things with the CIK community and movement that you've started?
I think the word that sticks out to me, and I might not answer this well, is purpose. Like, I feel like every time that I've heard you get up and speak, whether you're speaking to a secular audience or more Christian audience, at the end of the day, everybody's trying to find their tribe and find their people. They want you find your purpose, as you say, inside your group of people. Like, I feel that, like, with you guys and our Kick team, and it's like my people. And now I can run with my people, and I have purpose inside of that group. And sometimes that purpose, as you mentioned, is small. I might just be the finger, sometimes somebody's the mouth and things like that. But if we're all collectively working together, we can do really amazing things. And I think especially after COVID, something happened to this planet. People are seeking each other. And how could they find each other? Guess what? You couldn't even find each other down the street. It was all closed off. So you had to go into digital communities. So how do you then capture value inside those digital communities? You tokenize it. You allow them to create their own value, whether that's through a meme coin or there's other ways to token get a community. But all of a sudden, you've given the power to a community. They can get as big or as large or do whatever they want. And so I do think the future is tokenized communities. I don't think people have fully grabbed onto that, but they will.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, questions from you before we wrap up?
I always see you, every time you go to event, I always see you with your family, Regina, and the children, Can you please tell me, with our children, our future, right? How do you envision them to be, involved in this?
So do you mean like my children
Yes.
personally?
Yes.
It's funny you say that. So
tell us all about how great nepotism is.
Yeah. Bring them in. So this is a little nepotistic, but had this conversation with Bowen, so my 13-year-old last week. Okay, so this is a really big topic. But I do bring my family everywhere. Regina, my wife, my beautiful wife, she is my muse. I'm at more peace when I know my family's with me, that I know they're being taken care of. And I want my son, even though my youngest son is only 11 months old, Saint, his name's Saint. I want him to watch his father and how we are, myself and his mother are building together. It's important. We're a family unit, and it's important. We've lost that somewhere in society. It's like frowned upon when people are like, "Your wife's coming?" I'm like, "Oh yes, my wife's coming." What do you mean? We're one. What do you mean? Where is she supposed to be? You know? And so I think Christians, I think there's a better ethos of that in our culture. But I do see Regina as one. And in terms of our children, Saint's a little young. Aria, my daughter's 6, she's a little young, but the older children, I have 3 others. Bowen specifically, he's still in his like growing age. So he's 13. And I told him last week, Bowen, we're going to start doing things a little bit differently now that you're 13. And so we have a book schedule, leadership books, scripture books, and business books. And he's going to start reading those. And I said, I want to groom you to a point that one day, if it's necessary and you choose to, you can take over as CEO of Crisis King. Or you go be a basketball player, or you go be a preacher, or you can do whatever you want in life. But I want you to have that skill set. So one day you can actually sit and take over the family legacy and the family business.
And I'll flip that around for you. You know, when you came to Manila with me, I brought my 16-year-old in New York, Riza, and all 3 of our children with us. When I had you guys come visit us in Santa Cruz, which I did that just for you, bro, just so you felt it.
Sick.
Obviously, our whole family was integrated the whole time. So how are you seeing us integrate family? And how do you see that as a positive thing? I'm not going to lead the witness.
Yeah, no.
Say about it.
No. Well, here's the thing. When the utilities show up, you know that you're getting the full aspect of them, right? You're bringing your entire your ecosystem here. And what I've gained is like, even with like, especially with Malachi, like in the Philippines, the fact that I think I'm going to go do an interview with him like very soon. I was like, you're about to let your 16-year-old son in front of the whole world interview all these big people, and you're like, yes. And he had to. I could see like his lip quivering for 1 second, and he jumped in, and you threw him into the deep end, and he got to because he's becoming a man, and you're teaching him to be a man, and that's really important. And men do scary things, and they have to be bold, and they have to speak. If everything's always pampered for them, so that's what I really love is you put him in challenging situations where he's still protected.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, it's your daddy's there, daddy's going to take care of him, but you let them. Man, it's actually an inspiration to me because Bowen's only 13. So if I could do what you're doing with Malachi, I think I'll be a good father. So it's just an inspiration.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's why Nathan always wanted to be part of the interview, like in FTNYC. Right?
Every day at the radio, he's like, "Can I talk today?" I'm like, "Nah, probably not. Not if your mom's with you. If you and your mom are talking together." And then he'll like raise his hand, like, "I really want to say something." I'm like, "Okay, Nathan, go ahead." Hi.
8 to like 12 is hard. Like that's the weird phase, and they don't have like the social cues around them yet. But once it hits 13, then it's kind of like it's game on. But see Nathan's taking it in, he's listening, he's learning words, and then he'll know. I mean, he's got 2 of the best people to learn from. So,
well, internet land, I'm gonna share a brief video, and then I'm gonna go grab Curtis's partner, Brandon. I see him roaming like a wild animal out there. I'm going to share a video from January 2022. It was the peak of the Delta version of the COVID virus. 80% of the people that were going to CES bailed, including my friend who ran all of the main stage, which was Web3, AI, and Metaverse. And so he bailed, all the speakers bailed, and I jumped in and say, hey, I'll grab all the speakers and we'll make it happen. And I closed out this little 4-minute talk calling The Future of the Metaverse. And I really talk about the importance of bringing together Web3, Coinbase's world, with the world of AI, OpenAI, ChatGPT's world, and bringing them together. So let me share this with you, and I'll be back again with another person to introduce you to.
If you don't know me, my name is Ian Utile, and I've been an independent tech entrepreneur for over 20 years in the Silicon Valley. I kind of live a bit of a different life. I live in a treehouse with my 2 sons that are 9 and 12 years old. Because I'm disconnected from an urban environment and because I have 2 little children, it gives me a very unique perspective. In addition to the fact I've never really had a job. I just basically built companies. My company, Attention Live, is my 7th company. And I've always been independent. Really didn't raise money for my companies. I've just asked clients to pay us for our services and our products and built companies that way. So because I have a different perspective, I see things like voice technology and the metaverse a bit differently than maybe some of you and others. And as we wrap up our entire day today and wrap up this session, I want to leave you with a few thoughts. And so I mentioned the Empire and the Rebel Alliance. Over Christmas, I watched all 11 Star Wars movies again with my boys. And I think we almost finished The Mandalorian again. Because I got nothing to do, obviously. So I'm like trying to work as I'm tuning in. And it got me thinking a lot about how an empire, like the voice technology empire, is created. How does it happen? How does Palpatine, the senator, become the supreme chancellor, become the emperor of the galaxy? How did that happen? And how much of it was nefarious? And how is it that people prop that up and allow that to happen? And then how do you dismantle that? Can it be dismantled from the inside? Or is it only the Rebel Alliance? Is it only the open metaverse and decentralized technology and the Web3 and the crypto world and NFTs? Is this our only hope? Is that real? Is that true? Or is it possible that we can bring balance to the galaxy of technology and that the centralized trillion-dollar market cap companies don't have to be seen as the evil empire, but rather those that have the greatest hardware and really need help with community? And is it possible for them not to look at the Web3 decentralized open metaverse as the Rebel Alliance and Rebel scum, but rather those that desperately need their hardware and have figured out community? Let it sink in for a second. Let it sink in for a second. Because I promise you, in our American society, where everything gets demonized and glorified, I am a Democrat, and I hate Republicans and Fox News. I am a Republican, and I hate CNN. That going on gets played out in every possible way. And we're in a society where it's constantly fed to us that there's an enemy, and that we are the right ones, and they're the wrong ones, and that we need to stop them. And I would just say, I'm imagining that most Republicans and Democrats, people of all faiths, people of all ethnicities, all genders, all ages, have so much more in common than they have against one another. And there's a lot in common with the driving force of the executives at the trillion-dollar market cap companies that have developed voice technology that share a similar heart for the good of humanity with those that are building the Web3 ecosystem in the metaverse. And I would implore all of you, I would plead with all of you, be a part of making peace. In the tech world, my message to you today is to be a peacemaker. That's my message. Be a peacemaker. That's my final word. That's the final thing I want to say to you. It doesn't matter if you're an executive or an assistant in the evil empire of the voice tech trillion-dollar market cap companies, or you're one of the big cryptocurrency holders that's driving forward all of the Web3 glory. Find a way to work together, because that is how we will achieve all of our common goal. And that, my friends, is a worthy effort.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Almost 4 years since that talk. Lots has changed, but one thing that hasn't changed is the basic premise of what I was trying to share. We should try to be peacemakers. I was going to grab Brandon, but I'll have to grab him tomorrow. Dun, 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 dun.
And logo.
Name.
Logo.
Okay, guys, you both interviewed a bunch of the folks with our other media station. You've been out there. You helped me start. We're going to help me wrap. We're going to bring this plane and land it. How has your day been? How do you like being here at the On-Chain Summit? How do you like Coinbase's little intimate summit vibe? How do you like the Crisis King team and all the folks you've been rubbing shoulders with? Like,
well, I love
tell me all about it.
Ted, do you want to go?
I love
feel
it.
like you want to.
'Cause I love the vibe here.
Well, I think the big question is, like,
I'm
just
so
from
happy.
from a competitive standpoint, who loves it more?
Me? I'm 16. I get to love it more.
No. I have 55 years of experience.
Yeah, but you've had a lot of loving in your life.
So
I'm
much
still new
loving.
to this loving
Malachi's
thing.
actually never had any real loving in his life.
Hey. I have
Yeah,
plenty
just
of loving when
deep
I get to be
deep
around you.
rejection from his father.
No, it's been amazing though. The people here
I
are
was
such hard
talking about
workers. I've learned
knowing,
so much.
but whatever. Go ahead, Teddy.
Yeah, the people here are just brilliant. You know, I had a wonderful theological conversation with the pastor of, or the advisor of Christ is King,
Jim.
Yeah, I had a great convo with Brandon, and you know, I just love what he's doing, their vision, the young influencers too. They've got an amazing team, the power of community that's happening. And actually took an excursion to one of my friends at YWAM down in the Tenderloin.
Yeah.
They saw a real world example of how crypto philanthropy has moved the needle in the Tenderloin in ways that are unique, that, you know, crypto and the crypto community can do stuff that's, you know, unique, that's hard to do without it. And that was just a beautiful example and really hard situation there in the Tenderloin. And, you know, the YWAM is bringing a lot of hope. So it's cool to see how the crypto community has been able to add value there.
Can you summarize how the crypto, like just quick, brief, how the crypto aspect is able to
They basically,
help that?
crypto philanthropy, raise money. YWAM on the Tenderloin had a big need for a new kitchen. And so the crypto community came around, they raised money, and they donated the kitchen, which is cool. But then the community came, and through the relationship with YWAM, a lot of tech, you know, young tech, brilliant thinkers came down and they volunteered their time to help install it, to feed with it.
Yeah.
The power of the community. And that was like one of the first time many of them have been there and experienced the Tenderloin, which is it's tough. It's pretty harsh place, but resilient people. And then they actually used the crypto to track the volunteers, and they compensated the volunteers for their help, which was all
in what way?
And really cool. They gave them currency. Like cryptocurrency in exchange for the hours
they made a little NFT or something. That's something you would do, Dad.
No, in this case, it was it was with like a coin. Yeah. So yeah,
I love getting to see how this is actually applying in the real world. We can talk all about the amazing things we have as visions that could be and are going to be amazing, but if it doesn't actually happen, then it doesn't actually happen. But it does, and that's why it's amazing that we get to talk about these things. Because it is a real reality that is going to and is already existing.
Yep, and it was proof of concept, you know, and you look at the way they did it. And so what I'm excited here is about, you know, building this infrastructure. Christ is King is on the forefront of this to really scale these best practices in philanthropy. Things that we know that work, people who are on the ground doing it have just learned intuitively, even if we haven't fully codified the method for it. But very hard to scale it out, because as soon as you start scaling out, come up all these other problems, and it's like the system is fighting against you. And if we can build a system that serves you, that can scale out these best practices, oh man, we can change the world. I'm excited for it, you know. So
isn't the thought of getting to change the world such a beautiful thought?
Yeah, you know, and people say, oh, you can't change the world. Folks, all the world does is change.
Yeah.
The only difference is, are we going to get involved in the change and make the change
Well,
positive?
what even is the world? The world is just us. So if you're saying you can't change the world,
it wasn't that long ago you had a different haircut. So you changed. It wasn't that long ago where Ian was twice the man he is now. The world has changed.
Yes.
And that's a cryptic reference to Ian's weight loss. He has done an incredible job. Went on a 40-day fast, lost what?
I think one day I want to try and do a 40-day fast since you did one, Dad.
Oh my goodness.
No, you're going to do one for 41 days.
No, that's egotistical. I would do 40.
No, it's not egotistical because it's not about you, it's about your dad. And your dad's greatest vision is for you to do greater things than he did.
No, I'm okay. I'm just gonna do 40.
Okay, 40 is fine.
Yeah, transformation. What we do for this show, Beachside Tech Talk, episode number 43 today. We've gone a little long. This is 3 hours. We started late and we went long. Today's all about how does Web3 and AI transform the business and finance sector. So on the final thing I want to talk about is this. If we think of transformation like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, the process of metamorphosis, how are the two of you seeing transformation because of this technology here across business? So for instance, Brandon and Curtis had a Web3 business, and because of what Coinbase brought to market with their base blockchain and be able to launch a meme coin called Crisis King, that's metamorphosized their business. Mm-hmm. Our company, Attention Live, we built Attention Live, integrated with YouTube, AI tools like Alexa, Web3 tools like Ethereum. But when Base launched their layer 2 blockchain and Base launched their wallet, it opened up all sorts of new opportunities for us as a company. Mm-hmm. It's helped us to metamorphosize, to transform from our version 3 that we had when you and I sat on the couch to what we have today. So final question for the two of you is, what is your process of thinking regarding how this technology today is bringing transformation to businesses and that whole corporate world?
I want you to go for that one.
When you think of transformation, and we have this butterfly, man, I don't care how creative you are. If you've never seen a butterfly, you are not going to predict a butterfly out of a caterpillar.
Never.
But they have, they share memories. Like they've done things that the caterpillar, like the butterfly has the memories of the caterpillar. They have all the DNA.
Aren't they the same thing?
They are the same thing. Like it's incredible, So I think of this, I'm a dreamer. I'm a forward looker, or at least I fancy myself that. What I think is, there's a passage in the scriptures that says, eye has not seen and ear has not heard all the wonderful things that plan for you. Loose translation, but you look into the future, and I look at these test cases, and I look at these beautiful things, and it makes your heart feel warm. Even like this small example,
isn't that great?
We were able to give, help the YWAM in the Tenderloin, support them, do their work, get them a new kitchen to, better serve the people they're serving. Okay. Really, that's making a small dent in the big problem in the Tenderloin. You go to the Tenderloin, and if you don't know YWAM, you don't know who to talk to, you're still going to have a very overwhelming experience of just human suffering. And it's really, really tough. But I think, wow, it's like that butterfly. If you can project out and you get this little glimpse of a butterfly, wow, can we make the world like that? And then, you get together at things like this, and it kind of recertifies your sanity, or at least,
it shows you that the butterfly is possible.
Yeah. And it either certifies your sanity that we're not crazy, or, at least there's other crazy people in the crazy house with us. There's a lot of visionaries, a lot of dreamers, a lot of people who projected forward, have a vision of the world. And these people are super smart and creative. You just put this all together and say, wow, like it gives me hope, and it gives me faith, and I project forward and I say, wow, I believe we can solve homelessness in San Francisco. And not just do it because we lock them up and put them away so they're out of sight, but where we actually restore the lives, where we have a human flourishing that is inclusive of everyone. I believe we can solve our, just these challenges of exploitation and of human brokenness that are heartbreaking. You come into San Francisco, and here, this is just this gorgeous place. But if you take a wrong turn and you go through the Tenderloin or some other neighborhood, or if you don't park in some place secure, you'll be in a place that you think is secure, and you come back and your car's been broken into. And it's like, wow, we have these two communities. We have this beautiful creativity, the best of the best. And you also have some of the most brokenness and harsh conditions. And wow, can we really metamorphosize into a human flourishing that's for everyone? So I think my biggest takeaway was you throwing out that metaphor of a butterfly right now. Man, little caterpillar becomes this. I was walking with my mother yesterday. We go for a walk. She's older now, so she's got a hold of my arm. And butterfly went flying by. Man, those butterflies are so beautiful. And she's, 86 now, so, cognitive decline. So she's more like a child. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like we can become that butterfly. I believe California can become that butterfly.
Yeah, it's good. It's powerful. Final thoughts, son, before we wrap things up.
I see these things as in technologies, people, whatever they're creating. I don't see it flourishing because I think it's the best idea that's ever existed. I think they're great ideas, but I see it flourishing because the people making it are the greatest people. They're the people who make amazing things. If you just put Elon Musk into a kid's body with some crazy idea, they just make it happen because that soul just makes things happen. And these people, you guys just make things happen.
That person, Elon Musk, inside a beautiful, handsome, young body. And the good parts of Elon Musk.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us for the long episode. Thanks for being patient with us as we got started a little bit later than normal. The final thing I'll share with you before I wrap up the stream is going to be a talk I did Philippine Blockchain Week 2 years ago. It was one of the first times that I had shared the need for both Web3 tools and AI tools to be working seamlessly together when I was speaking in Asia. So it's a couple years old, but again, a lot of time I'm talking about the future. A lot of times the things I say don't even come to pass for 5 and sometimes 10 years. So there's still a lot in here that is of value. And it also is just nice to kind of take a peek back and kind of look at things as they were in the past and take it down memory lane.
Oftentimes, great startups with great ideas, they don't think how to go from the first 100 customers to 5 billion. They think how to go from the first 100 customers to the next 1,000, to the next 10,000, then to exit, only to leave their customers and their legacy wanting. If you are an innovator, and if you intend to build great technology, and you want that technology to be trustworthy, I strongly encourage you to look into distributed ledger technology and think through how can AI and blockchain collaborate to bring the best of both worlds. And then really, how can Philippines as a country and all of you beautiful people be a part of leading that effort? And let me just say this. I have felt since I came 15 years ago here, I have felt that this region has the greatest potential with future technology. If there's amazing automation that happens with AI or blockchain in America or in the most wealthy parts of Europe or the most wealthy parts of Asia or any area, the impact is low, right? I mean, what's going to happen? We're going to save a little time, make a little more money. But what happens when automation hits the region of Southeast Asia, especially not just in the city of Manila where 25 million people live in this metro area, but how about all the outer lying islands? How about when Starlink or some other satellite starts to provide high-speed internet to everybody for free? How about when one of these large companies start to send everyone rings, watches, glasses, headsets so that they can communicate with the internet freely. And when there's no longer anything that keeps the average human from having the equal opportunity, I mean, we see that with the cell phone, don't we? Like, it doesn't matter how poor a person is or how much of a struggle they have, it's like every human seems to have access to a cell phone at this point. And that's a huge innovation. But what happens when AI becomes the interface? What happens when blockchain becomes the anchor that runs everything? All of a sudden, this might mean that for certain people in Southeast Asia, you're talking about a 10x, a 100x impact on their ability to generate revenue and to thrive as a people group. And I would wish that for nobody more than I would wish that for your people. I have more time, and believe me, I can talk. I mean, I can come up with things to say. That's easy for me. But instead of doing that, we're at the end of the day, and I want to invite any of you that may want to ask a question before I wrap to go ahead and do that. I think I have some friends with a microphone. I'm not going to take more than 2 questions, so if you have a question about the things I'm talking about, I am happy to take it. But the lights are blinding, so I can't tell.
It's okay, I got you, buddy. So, great opportunity to ask questions. Who has a question? Who has a question? Oh my God, it was so amazing.
Everybody's so shy. You know, last year what I had to do is I had to give stuff away. I had all these hats and these shirts, and I even gave money away. I gave a $100 bill away. I was like motivating people. Oh, there, I got a question. I don't have no money, but I want your question. All right, bring a microphone to that man.
I was actually going to look for you afterwards anyway. My question would be, in terms of disaster risk reduction management for DRR, how can we use your technology, being with a lot of its advantages, to make it easier for DRR's response in the sense of the financial side?
Yeah,
so it's easier for you to give out aid.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the easiest way to go about that is to either check out Hedera, HEDERA.com. That's a good starting point, specifically to connect with one of the foundations and talk to the foundations that are out there deploying capital and grants. They're out there giving developers out to develop these things out, and maybe they've worked on something similar, or maybe they would like to work on something similar, and they go, hey, that's perfect, we want to get in on that. Or, oh, have you heard about these organizations? We've been doing that with them. And then, of course, the other thing is just to look at a local community. I would be hesitant to give you an answer that I think might satisfy you. What I will say is that we would like to investigate, and there's not just one foundation, right? There's many to pull from many communities. And if you want to talk a bit more detail, I'm happy to do that afterwards. Anybody else have a question?
One more question. Oh, there we are. Of course it is. Yeah. Let's do it.
I was asking them if it's okay to ask a question.
Please, I'd love to take your question. Yes.
Because for somebody who does not really know anything about what you just talked about, how would you invite me, or how would you tell me in 2 minutes, not to really have a good grasp of what you just said, but to make me interested to know more about everything that you talk about there?
It's a great question. Throughout all of history, technology is usually created as a weapon. It's just the reality. Yet, somehow, what started off as a weapon ends up becoming a beautiful thing to develop prosperity and abundance for many, many, many people. Cryptography, the basis of all distributed ledger technology. Cryptography was a weapon of mass destruction in World War II. Machine learning, AI, that all started with the military. So what I would tell you is when we talk about artificial intelligence, when we talk about blockchain technologies, these things started off with the intent to be weaponized from one people group to another, from one country to another. And now, as things have matured, you see that these are now being used to completely change the way we think of the financial system, completely change the way that we think of all of the softwares that we're using, and the ability to save time, and the ability to empower people to make a living. And so if I only have a minute, what I would tell you is that this technology is here to stay. It's inevitable. And this technology has already gone past its weaponizing phase, and now it's into its abundance, prosperity, being used as a tool for good for humanity phase. And it doesn't matter if you understand it. I don't understand it. How could I ever understand something as complex as machine learning or distributed ledger technology? It's insanely difficult to grasp. But what I have done is enough investigation, and I've worked on enough projects that I can at least try to explain simply some of the benefits of leaning in. And so if you're going to lean in, I would just tell you, could you maybe use your Samsung Bixby Google Assistant on your Android a little bit more? Could you maybe use Apple Siri on your iPhone just a little bit more? Could you maybe use your Amazon Alexa in your house or your office just a little more? Could you maybe create a little bit more text to image in Midjourney? Could you maybe ask ChatGPT a few extra questions? Could you maybe investigate some of these blockchain companies that you haven't taken the time to really look into? Like, have you really taken the time to investigate Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hedera, or the others? And so that's what I would tell you with 2 minutes. I would tell you that these were weapons that are now prosperity tools, and it's worth leaning in just a little bit more. And what I'll end with is, we have speakers come up on stages, and oftentimes it feels like speakers are elevated above the audience. But that's only for the cameras. It's only for a full room. Nobody in all of humanity is better than another. No ethnicity is better. No gender is better. No age is better. No blockchain is truly better than another. No AI is actually better than another. No technology is superior to the other industry. Pull back, take a breath, recognize your greatness, recognize what you're capable of, and then ask yourself, can I maybe just do a little bit more? Can I do a little more research? Can I take a little more risk?